welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod Twaswassel, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another huge thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
In the 600s. Take you a little while, but you'll find it because you'll hear and start to remember like when in time that was and when you joined.
Lockdown. Right after lockdown. So
no, that's 2020. It was before the lockdown.
No. I'm saying when I first came on, I was listening to the show since 2016. But when I first got on and started joining and getting involved, it was during the lockdown. So if I could pinpoint that number, right around what shows they were, I could find my first appearance.
So the lockdown started in March, right?
Yeah. Like right around this time, you started getting wind of it. And yeah. And they messed everything up, bro. That's what happened to me. That's what caused me to fall into that hole.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they managed to jack the prices up on everything. Everything you had put aside, just started boom, boom, using it on things that were not costing that much a year before, especially gas.
Yep. Things breaking down, everybody else going through it. So it's like the availability, it's a whole bunch. I am so disgusted with the last 2 years, but
Well, it's orchestrated that way. It's deliberate. They're all on the same theme. They're all, it's all a matter of bringing the economy, crippling the economy. So now you got to go digital or whatever that is. Do your reset. Well, do it already. How you doing, Nathan? I'm great, Neil. How you doing? Can't be so bad myself.
that was good. Good morning, Ted. Good morning.
Hey, Eli, good to have you. I sent you that picture, Neil.
No, I want you to do it during the show, like when it's on the show.
I just sent you the picture. You do. It's right there on the show. I mean, what's the point?
How would I do it in chat?
Why would I even?
Neil, check it out. I fully felt what 10th just said. I would love you to get more involved. You present it. That's what I'm
asking you. How would I do it during the show?
Yes,
how would
Nathan,
I get it in chat?
You say, Nathan, show. But what's the point? Anyone can go buy a Sextant.
I just want to shut somebody up.
You're not going to shut them up.
Shut up. A couple of smacks will shut him up.
Now that's more like it.
He's just an annoying guy.
Answering a troll is like throwing money away or just burning it up with a match.
Yeah, I know. So annoying, though. I wish at least show me your pictures. So I said he has. When we first started this, he was showing the stuff he got. He showed the books. Then he turns around, timestamp. You know what? I ain't sending him nothing. He turns around, show and timestamp, please.
See,
yeah, it's my butt.
He got you off the subject, which is whether you own a sextant or not, it doesn't matter. What is an elevation angle? What is an angle need to constitute for it to be an angle? Two straight lines.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Before you go, I just told him all of that.
Well, then it's over.
All of that. Exactly.
Well, then it's over.
So now
It's over.
I'm thinking about what he said, and now he can kiss my derriere.
Wait a minute. He doesn't know what an angle is, let alone kissing the derriere.
Yeah, well, this is what I said to him. That makes you all the more a fool. If you have a sextant and you claim to know that you go on ships and you use a sextant and you think you're doing it on a sphere, you're the fool.
Every picture they have shows a tangent plane that they need to do the angle measurement from. They have never done it from a curved surface, even from their own books. This is why when I started reading all their books, which have it working on the globe, by the way, there's no flat Earth navigation sextant book out there, okay? Except when you look at it, that's exactly what the books show you. It's all coming from the equatorial plane, which nobody's at. So they put a tangent plane on top of some dingleberry they draw and say, here, see, we got the angle. Yeah, but you never use the dingleberry. It's so over, it's done.
And that's what I said to him. I said, man, you need to listen.
I wouldn't even correspond with a person that can't keep up with their own books and what their own books are telling them. It's a contradiction in their own books. Then they go do the math and say, see, it works. No, it works you got it from a flat plane. You have to do a transformative equation to make it work on the sphere. And you got a backward engineer it so that it looks like it's working on the globe. But it's not, because the initial angle has to come from a flat plane. And they show it to you with a tangent plane. And
that's the whole thing. And that's what drives me nuts. It ain't driving me nuts. I just say that, But I don't, it's got to be pride. I think it's a lot to do with pride, but it's right there. So.
Well, it would drive me nuts if I continue talking to people who can't get the basics.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, this is just one day I was in chat doing moderation. He popped in. I forgot his name. I don't even know who it is. But it bothered me because I know you did show pictures, when you first got it.
But even if I did, what does that prove? That doesn't prove anything.
Not a thing. But don't say you didn't do something when you did. Certainly did show pictures of books and sextants, and you spent a lot of money on this stuff. So you don't know what he's talking about. But it doesn't prove a darn thing.
I haven't even stopped my research on it. I'm still reading books on sextants, celestial navigation, watching newer videos. I'm just making myself stronger in the argument. But bottom line, you can't get an elevation angle without two straight lines. From the horizon up, it's so easy.
Exactly. And you know what? He'll be listening to the show, and he'll listen to the re-up of the Uncut and the show, and he'll hear this conversation. And he'll be stubborn and a fool and think he's doing it off a curve when he can. It's an impossibility.
Thank you. Were you going to say something, John? Refracted?
I'm sorry, Tiff. I didn't hear you. What?
Were you trying to say something a minute ago?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say never underestimate ignorance.
Oh, and I got something I want to say. Well, inquire, so to say. And it's towards 10th. Not just to make sure I understand something about the sextant, right? You use the horizon to establish level, right? That's one of the ways you can use to establish level with a sextant, correct?
Well, let's define it. Let's define it even more strict. If you're in an airplane and you've got cloud cover under you, you can't see the horizon, so you can't use the horizon in an airplane. So you use a bubble sextant, where you have a horizontal to use as if you were at the sea, using the horizon and doing height of eye correction to get that same horizontal. But to your question, more directly, if you're at sea and there's no other landmark around you, just ocean all around you, you use the horizon, you bring the sun or star with the index mirror down to the horizon, and you rock it left to right till you find perpendicular, which is the zenith of that star. And there's your 90 of that star using the horizon. So in the Mariner sextant, they have a horizon mirror for that purpose. Yes, you're right.
Okay. But then you still got to do the calculation for the drop after that, right?
What drop? Do you mean the known amount that you're above the sea level from the station that you already know you're going to take your sextant sighting from, that you figured out
Yes.
at dock when the boat was calm, and it's measure, say, 10 feet, and then add
Yes.
your height if you're standing up, and that brings you down and makes the obtuse angle into a 90.
Okay. So
And so you need a
is
90.
it correct to say, right? So is it correct to say that you calculate drop to bring basically the sextant to sea level? Correct?
No.
They say it in their books. They say if your eyeball were on the seawater, you don't do dip correction. They say it.
No,
But if you're
no,
10
no,
feet-
no, no.
Oh,
No,
hold on,
no,
hold on.
no,
Let me
no,
just
no.
let me just say one more thing with 10th. So would it be correct if you're leveling with the sextant at the horizon, right, to get a level and using the mirror too, then you have to bring that level down to sea level? Would it be correct to word it like that?
No. The sea
No.
level's already come up to your eyes.
You're
No, but I'm
bringing your
talking. I'm
height.
not talking. I'm not talking. I'm not talking. Having a level. You can have a level anywhere. You can have a level above sea level, right? But I'm talking
No,
about sea
what?
level.
It's not a geometric height adjustment. It's a resolution of the limited angle to the deck as to what variance the horizon will render at to give you a level. A level
Right.
for your
A
eye.
level. But then you got to bring that. But then you got to bring that A level, which is above sea level, down to sea level. Correct?
No, you haven't. No, you haven't at all. You've got to make a very minor adjustment that you do at dock, which compensates for your height of eye above the deck, which is the angular change that the limitation will occur. You are not adjusting your eye down geometrically to the surface. That's not what's happening. You are adjusting that minuteness that the level will be off based upon your height above the deck. And as you go higher, that minuteness changes minutely. It's all you're doing. A recognition that the point of rendering of that horizon is based upon your height of eye, and that will have a difference depending on the height of the eye. But it is not a geometric readjustment to create you down to the deck. It is literally an optical correction through your optical device.
The books, so you understand what Adam's saying. The books already have you
Well,
at the center of the earth where it's just a 90. Okay. And then what you've got to do is you got to match that.
When I line the sextant up, right, with the horizon, I'm lining it up with as far away as I can see with my feet, is the way you think it. But because I'm using my eyes to line it up, perspective is at play. It's no longer a geometric adjustment. It's an adjustment within perspective based on the height of eye to ascertain a level.
all right. Let me jump in a little bit quick just to make sure I'm on the same page and we're on the same page. I know the horizon is optical. Okay? I know it's not geometric. I'm not saying sea level is the horizon, and I'm not saying the horizon is sea level. Sea level being like 0 height off the sea. The horizon is appears at eye level, right? So
Yeah,
that's
no, due to
appears
perspective.
above sea level. Yeah,
Due to
exactly. I
perspective.
know that. Yeah. So then,
So the horizon. Hold on. Are you saying the horizon is not where the sky appears to meet sea level?
I'm saying that's exactly what it
it's
is.
eye level. No, well, yeah, it appears at eye level.
It's where the sky appears to meet the sea, and that will appear at eye level.
It's just a reference
Oh, no,
point.
Well, I don't know if I would call it eye level because you can measure a differential with height.
Well, and that's what we're going to adjust for what that eye level is, and how the limited angle to the deck will adjust very slightly how that horizon renders as a perpendicular to the eye. Yeah.
Well, yeah, as long as you're saying appears or at, I'm okay. But the word is where I take offense because it's not.
I don't want to offend you, so
Well,
are we at? Is that it appears
wait a
at
second.
eye level?
QB says it's redundant to say appears at eye level because by definition the horizon is apparent.
Oh, QE is entitled to say that, but if you're trying to add clarity to something,
You're using it as a reference point because there is no other reference at sea. You don't have a lighthouse that you can point to and known height of the lighthouse or shoreline. You have nothing. You're just in the middle of the ocean. So horizon is horizontal. You bring it down to that, you waggle it left to right till you get perpendicular. And this is why they have the tangent plane drawing on their dingleberry all the time, because it's got to match as if you were at the equator, at the equatorial plane. You need a flat baseline. That's the whole reason for it. To get your 90 is established by first establishing the zenith 90 of the sun, let's say. Then you do the subtraction, and the co-altitude is as if your 90 was measuring it. But you're on the boat rocking, so you can't get your 90. So you get the sun's 90, minus it from 90, and you got your co-altitude. It's a two-step process.
I think it's interesting that the angles from 10 degrees from your zenith all seem to correlate with this the model of a sphere. It isn't until you get down to those lower angles that it completely falls apart. And they start having to say, "Oh, that's refraction," or "That's blah blah blah." But those top angles are interesting.
Any clearer, Righteous? Or
Yeah, I was just going to ask, you got it, Righteous, or you still
Yeah, I get that part, but I was just trying to point out one thing. Basically, there's a difference between level and height from sea level, correct? I mean, not height from sea
formulate.
level.
What question are you trying to answer that's been posed to you?
All right.
Let's start there.
All right. When you establish level with the sextant, right? You're just establishing level. And
yes.
after you establish level, you also got to calculate to bring that level down to sea level.
No.
Correct?
No.
Okay, how do you word it? How's that worded then?
Once you've right, so you're gonna establish that level through the eye, okay? And whatever reading you take, you already established what adjustment you're going to do at dock. You're just going to take off 20 arc seconds, whatever it is. Who cares? It's an arbitrary amount, yeah. But you're going to do that because you knew what height you know why your boat's laden at dock, so you know how high it's sitting in the water, so you know your height of eye. So that number is just written already in all your columns. It's already written minus or plus, but yeah. So that's already defined. So then you're going to go to sea and you're just going to take those readings and write them down. And then when you do your quick calculation at the end, you'll knock that number off. That number is a consequence of how high your eye is with regards to perspective looking across the deck. And it'll be adjusted by that amount to create a level. Now, that level isn't
So is
sea
that-
level, but it is commensurate with sea level as soon as you ascertain that it is level.
Right, but do you do that calculation afterwards or before?
So, you do it at dock.
Before
It's
you,
a defined number based on your ship sat in water, loaded and ready to go. That's how high the ship sits in still water. That's the height of I. That's just a defined number.
Right.
You're going to adjust.
Right, that's a defined number, but when do you apply the defined number? After you level with
After
the
you've-
horizon or before you level with the horizon?
After. So you level with your
So then that
horizon and
means-
take your angle, don't you? Yeah. Now that
Right.
angle is going to be slightly out because your level, is just slightly out based on the height of I above the water.
Yes, and you got to bring that eye down to the water afterwards, right?
No. That's a way of describing what's happening, but it
All right.
isn't really what you're
So-
doing. You're
I'm gonna put a
ascertaining
slide.
a
okay,
level.
I'm going to put a slide
All
for
right, hold
you,
on, I gotta
Master D, right now.
So
Okay.
if I went up a mountain and just used a spirit, a bubble level, it wouldn't matter what altitude the eye is at because the way in which I ascertain the level is via different methodology. It's not optical. I'm using a spirit level. So I've got my level. So it doesn't matter what height my eye is. The angle I read, elevation angle I read, is from that level. But when I use my eye to ascertain a level as opposed to a spirit level, I know that it's going to be out by a little bit because of the way the different slightly variance there will be in the way the horizon renders based on my height of eye, based on the increased openness to the deck that I've got the higher I go. It changes it very slightly. Yeah. So that number, I'm going to always have the same based on a known. But and it's only to ascertain the level. You can draw that line at any altitude. It doesn't matter. It's still commensurate with sea level once it's established as level.
If you go to Master D from a navigation
it.
book. Okay, so summary of dip angles for various heights of observation above sea level. Okay, 0 meters, 0 feet, 0 correction, because that's how the books have been set to be read. Now, if your eye is, say, 10 feet above that sea level, okay, or I'm sorry, 10 meters, which is 33 feet, you have the correction on the height of eye to apply it. Now, it shows it all the way to 162 feet or 50 meters, as you can see in degrees and minutes. Okay, now to go look at the bottom picture, and it pretty much tells you what's going on. The Nautical Almanac and the site reduction tables assume that the sites are taken at sea level. For instance, from the periscope of a submarine barely emerging above the water. Now, when you see that image of that submarine inside of a dingleberry curve, but what is the observer's horizon? It's a tangent plane. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That is the sea level. They want you to think it's curving, but they have to use the tangent plane because they need two straight lines to get that angle, elevation angle to the star. That is transposed from the center because all the measurements are from the equatorial plane. So all they do is just take that equatorial plane, and it's represented here as a tangent plane, and it's telling you your angle requires a baseline that's not curving. Sea level. They admit it. Then they trick you with the math and back engineering.
Exactly. It's self-explanatory.
You know, that's one of the reasons I like the Eratosthenes thing. You don't have dip angle correction or anything like that. It's just you're using the Earth to get an elevation angle.
Precisely.
Exactly, John. Exactly.
Because
Okay,
the
but you
minute
guys
you
aren't talking
say
to-
another word, the minute you add a word to it, they try to complicate it. You know, and right, just to understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying that about you because we've argued this in private for a bit. So that's why Adam can answer you almost before you ask it.
Right, but I think you guys are forgetting one thing. You guys aren't talking to a baller, and I'm not making any baller's claim. I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to understand
trying to
something on how it
understand
works
it.
on a plane. I'm just trying to
So do you-
Right,
understand
and
how it works on a
I'm
plane.
saying that we've already argued this amongst ourselves vehemently. So I don't think it's personal. But it may seem like it, but it's not to you, man. I promise you. This was hashed out a few months ago, pretty brutally.
All right, it just seems like near the end you guys were addressing a baller with that curve being mentioned. And so on and so forth.
No, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. He just doesn't want to offend you in any way because we've had heated debates. Is all he's saying. So bottom line, when you read that figure 2.7, Righteous, what do you make of it?
Well, that's talking about the periscope or whatever thing being at actual sea level, so there wouldn't be no height correction there, right?
Well, yeah, it says right there on the top, 00000. The Nautical Almanac, this is the part I want you to get. The books that you go to reference everything, which are very important because they've got every one of the 64 main celestial navigation stars, sun, moon, whatever, right? 57 stars, and then the rest are the wandering stars, the sun and the moon, equaling 64 of the main ones, okay? The Nautical Almanac and the site reduction tables, the word assume that the sites are taken at sea level. Now, this is very important. Okay, why is that important? Because in the books, they're actually from the equatorial plane. But they feel comfortable saying sea level because they draw that tangent plane that you see observer's horizon and geoidal horizon. It's one and the same. There is no dingleberry. This is what I want you to get. If the books are already pre-calculated that it's coming from the equatorial plane, which it is, but shown to you in the drawing that if you were in a submarine, if you were at the water level, it's the same as if the equatorial plane. When did the curve ever come into question? When was it ever used? Never.
Exactly. Bingo.
Right. See, you saying there the curve again is again something I'm not talking about.
I'm not.
I know you're addressing the audience.
I'm saying it for the audience. I'm saying for the audience to understand. If
I don't think this is
right, but when you,
point.
Obviously,
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. And maybe a better time would be to talk in the after Nathan's show
but
finishes.
what is your point?
You guys said you guys had passion to talk about.
What's your point? What's the point you want us to address?
I'm trying to understand how to word something that it seems I understand, right? And if I don't understand, I'll accept the correction. I'm fine with that. But the way I explain it doesn't seem to be coming through, so it seems like there has to be something is wrong. Either I'm wrong or the way I'm explaining it is wrong. And
try again. I'm all ears. Try again. Come on.
All right. So we know that when you look out at the horizon is not geometrical. We know it's optical. We know that the ground appears to ramp up to eye level, right? But it's not. Just like when you look down a hallway, the ground is not at eye level. It just appears to be at eye level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you still use that to establish a level, right, with the sextant. So you're not like aiming towards the ground or towards the sky.
Yes. At this point, are you doing any celestial navigation?
You say at this point you're not doing any celestial navigation?
This has got nothing to do with celestial navigation. This leveling the device through this thing is not celestial navigation. It is not required for celestial navigation. All that's required is a level. Now, we can use a bubble sextant at any altitude, and we will not adjust in any way for the height that we're taking the reading from. The only purpose for the height of eye is outside of celestial navigation for leveling the device if we're going to use a horizon to do so.
So
Correct.
what
And
Adam is
Ted,
saying,
you want to go before I go?
Just, yeah, go.
who's
Ted
going?
can go.
Okay,
Somebody go.
Yeah. So
You,
so
Ted, man.
so
Does
so
that make
Horizon.
sense,
Hello,
Righteous?
good morning.
Right,
So
does that
the
make
hor-
sense,
Alright.
Righteous, in terms of what you're asking?
What's that?
Did what I just say, well, the distinguishment that I'm trying to make, where this horizon use to level the device, you understand it's got nothing to do with celestial navigation. You're just leveling the device.
Yes. And
You
I want
could be
to
leveling it
add on to that, if I
for
may.
geodesy purposes. You
Can
could
I
be
add on to
leveling it
that?
to put a shelf up.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. So it seems like we're a bit more on point now. So
Okay,
you're just
so-
using the horizon can be used as a leveling method of the device. So we're not into the celestial
Horizon
navigation
is
yet.
no, you're missing it. Listen, the
let him
Horizon.
know.
I know, but I you've already answered his question. The only reason they use the Horizon is to get the zenith of the star, and it serves as a horizontal. That's the only reason they use the Horizon. It's for the purposes of the vertical. That's why they rock the sextant, to get the perpendicular relationship to the horizon. And then what Adam says is absolutely true, but just realize it's a reference for vertical, that you can't get your zenith because you're on the rocking boat. So you use the horizon to get the stars or sun's zenith, 90 degrees. That's the only reason.
Right. But before we get
So-
to like getting to the star part, right? We're using the horizon to establish that
The vertical,
what
the
did you call it?
vertical of the star. That's it. And then when you do the height of
You're
eye,
confusing it,
you
Ken.
leveled it.
Ken, you're going three steps ahead that he doesn't need, I think, just to get this clarity. Yes, we're going to then use that for other things, which we'll use in Celestial. But fundamentally, at this point, we're just ascertaining a level. To dip or
Right.
not to dip, that is the correction. Yeah, that is the only purpose, to attain a level.
That is after
Right.
the vertical is
Yeah.
established.
That's a nuance, isn't it? Is all I'm saying, and I don't think that's what's messing with Refractor's head. Does that bit make sense?
Okay, so
You're talking
let's
to me
stay
or
at
talking to
the
Righteous?
I don't think. I don't
Righteous.
think
Sorry, I just looked at your logo. Sorry, John. Is that clear?
right. So
What we're doing so far? So what's the next?
so
Mr. Oakley, I have a question.
Oh, we're discussing. Carry on, Righteous.
we could maybe discuss this another time if he wants
No,
to
this
go
is
on.
quality. This is exactly
Okay.
what needs clarifying. This is brilliant, mate.
Mr.
All right.
Oakley.
All right. So we established the horrors. What's the word now?
A level.
We
We've
established a level. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we established the level, but that level is still above the sea, correct? Even though it's level, it's not. It's still above the sea, right? So it's not exactly sea level, but it's still level, even though you're on the ship above the sea.
Right.
Level.
Now we're into celestial navigation. Soon as you have ascertained a level, that will be parallel, won't it, to the surface? It is irrelevant for celestial navigation now, the height that your level has been ascertained above sea level. It is commensurate with sea level. So whatever elevation angle you measure, it is exactly the same, whether you're at the top of a mountain or exactly with your eye on the water. The angle will be the same, and you can use that same angle. There is no need to adjust for your altitude, your height of eye, once you have your angle from your level.
Okay, you have angle from a level. I agree with that.
Yep.
But is it necessary to bring that down to sea level now afterwards?
It's already
No.
there. In
already there.
celestial
How-
navigation, the angle that you took from a level is commensurate with the angle being at sea level. You can take that and move forward. You can just place it at sea level, irrespective of your altitude.
But then why
I
do you
think I
have
can help him a
to
little bit.
do that? why do you have to do that drop calculation
What drop?
if you don't have to bring? Well, the minus part, you know that.
The minus is
I
to
think
do
I
with
had it in
leveling
this
the
diagram.
device.
Let's
Yeah,
hear John.
Let me try to. There's two different angles you're going to be using. You're going to be using the actual angle that you're going to apply in a model. So there's the actual angle that you get from the horizontal plane. And then there's the application of that angle in a model. Does that help you?
May I please? This is
just let
getting
him- hold on.
convoluted for me.
No, just let
The
him answer it.
horizon is
Just
used
hold on, 10th.
for the
on.
vertical.
Does that help, Righteous?
I'm not sure I understand. So I guess not.
Adam's gone to excruciating detail to establish how what you need to perform this task of celestial navigation is a level baseline. So when you use this tool, all you're trying to do with the tool is get it to represent level. Now, if you're using the
Yes.
tool above the level plane, then you have to correct for that. If you are using a bubble, you don't have to correct for it because you've already established that which you require, which is a level baseline. So if you haven't got it because you're using the horizon and you're slightly above the deck, imagine the ground and you're only going to correct for a 6-foot dip, which is to say that you're holding the sextant and you're 6 foot tall, or your eye is 6 foot above the deck, say. Well, imagine that the horizon is the point where the ground which your feet are touching appears to meet the sky. Well, obviously, your feet are below your eyes, aren't they? So the point that's
Yes.
meeting the sky is where your feet are, not where your eyeball is. Therefore, that requires a very small correction. Now, if you're up on the deck of a ship, that's going to be a slightly bigger correction, but it's the same correction. You don't need to do that correction if you've got a bubble because it's already level.
That's the actual angle. All right. That's what we're talking about there. And then you go on to say something about adjusting it down to sea level or whatever. Then you're going to take that angle and apply it in a model, which is not the angle you just took. It's the application of that angle in a model. You understand the difference?
Okay, so that. Are you saying the dip correction is only used for the model?
The dip correction
Absolutely not. No.
is only used as a optical method for leveling the device.
Correct.
Only
Hello.
function it has in this process. And like I say, it's not specifically needed in celestial navigation. You can level that device in another way, then your height of eye above the deck becomes irrelevant as a consideration. It's only relevant to
Hello.
level the device.
Hello,
Once we've
Robo.
done that,
I'm on the.
we
Hello.
can take our angle and move forwards in the model as John's describing and apply that angle, that elevation angle that we've may or may not have adjusted for from our level. And we can use that angle directly in celestial navigation as if we are on the surface that we're going to now try and navigate across.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arwin, Chocolate Saiyan, Adam, 10th Man, Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good evening.
Good morning.
Welcome wherever you may be. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Hey, Nathan, before we jump into housekeeping, we got some ballers in Discord.
Say again, Stag?
We got some ballers in Discord. I think they wanted to ask some questions.
All right, okay.
If you don't mind.
No,
But
not
we
at all.
can answer first with 7. It'll be easier.
Say again, Sasha?
Obnoxious. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm saying it will be easier if we answer these 7 questions what you have to ask, and then we will go do the other questions.
Okay. What was the question you wanted to ask? Was it Robo, the guy who was trying to say hello in the pre-show?
Yes, I'm Rob Noxious. I am a Glober, but I do have questions, and I'm not 100% a Glober.
Fair enough.
And my question is, I live in the state of Michigan, the United States of America, and I live on a lake called Lake Saint Clair, which happens to be 24 miles across at its widest point. I fish off a pier there all my life, and I've noticed that I can see the windmills on the other side of Canada, but I cannot see the land. And when I go to the top of this residential skyscraper that's 220 feet in the air, that's next to the fishing pier, the land of Canada reappears. Why am I seeing the land if I'm elevated, but from ground level, I can't see the land, and I'm only seeing the windmills?
Okay, I appreciate your question, but what does this have to do with the nature of Earth?
Oh, I just was wondering, is that proving the curve, or is that the vanishing point?
Well, no. My address to you is in regards to how you feel it proves the Earth's shape or nature as a plane in either event.
Well, because mathematically speaking, if my line of sight is changing with elevation, that would mean that I'm looking over an edge or a curve.
Because
you say cause or cuz?
No, I said because, as in, can you expand on why that would be?
That's why I'm asking you. I know you're a little bit more inept in answering these questions. That's why I come to the experts. I wanted to see where am I getting it wrong at?
Okay. Well, you're asking about a mathematics that's laid down already, though. So the mathematics of Earth curves pretty set in stone.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thing. I did the math that way, but I'm trying to figure out how do you do the math on a flat Earth to understand why you can only see 2/3 of the windmill and you can't see the bottom of the windmill from ground level.
So it's your assertion that based on the Earth curve maths, it is a hill getting in the way.
It's not a hill. Well, that's what you would think it would be because, like I said, it messes up your observation. But according to the Globers, that's demonstrating that you're only seeing 2/3 of the windmill because the Earth is curving at 40 miles away, and you're only seeing half of it.
I see. So it's your positive claim that the hill known as Earth curve blocks the land below the windmills. That's your positive claim, then, correct?
From my observations, yes, Mr. Oakley.
Right, if the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, as laid down in the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve calculator, then every distance to that geometric limitation you believe is blocking the Canada shoreline could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve calculator. And we can show that limitation that you thought was blocking the bottom of Canada is beyond its geometric limitations as laid down in those maths. Therefore, the horizon isn't an Earth curve edge blocking the bottom of a Canada shoreline that you thought was being blocked by a hill known as Earth curve. We've debunked it. So beyond the positive assertion that the Earth has got a sphere edge called Earth curve at the horizon, which we've debunked 1st Jan 2020, was there anything else? I mean, if you've got questions about what that may be, I don't have any need to satisfy any positive claims that I haven't made, because I haven't made any. There's just an Earth curve claim at the horizon, isn't there?
Yeah. So if I was to take a telescope and I was to zoom in from shoreline, I should be able to bring back the windmills bottom.
So is that your positive claim now? What are you claiming now?
Because I have binoculars, but I don't have. I didn't take a telescope yet, but I had binoculars that are pretty strong, and I wasn't able to bring back the bottom of the windmills.
And
but if I go to the top of the building, that's less than.
I heard that the first time.
Maybe 1,000.
Sorry, my friend. You're repeating yourself. Do you understand that you have already said this and I did listen? Do you understand that first of all?
Yes, sir.
Do you appreciate that you don't need to say it again then?
I understand.
Right, I haven't made a claim about this, have I?
Oh, no, I wasn't trying to get in any scuffle with you about a claim. That's why I was just asking questions. I'm just trying to figure out stuff myself.
You're not. No. Let's not misunderstand what you are doing. You are making a positive assertion as opposed to asking questions. Your positive assertion was a hill got in the way of Canada, correct? Yes, that's correct.
No, not
yes,
a hill.
Correct. Yes, that is what you claimed. I clarified what you claimed and how you claimed it and what your claim was based on. It was based on Earth curve maths. So we know what your claim is. Your claim is the horizon is a hill getting in the way of the bottom of Canada. And I've debunked that. We can show how it isn't a physical limitation to your view of Canada. We can demonstrate how the maths that says it's a hill getting in the way of Canada isn't tenable, incorrect. So we can debunk.
But it's not a hill because there's no hills in a lake.
There is if it's a sphere Earth. It's at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet, based on the maths you used to make your claim of a sphere edge getting in the way of Canada.
Yeah, but the math also states that within a certain number, you would never be able to register the curve. That's why the ground feels flat to everybody.
Oh, right. So when it says it's at 1.2 times the square root of the observer site in feet, that's the maths telling us how flat it is it? Incorrect. Now you seem to be doubling back 180 degrees against your claim that a physical hill, that's Earth curve, blocked the view of Canada with its curvy hill-like nature that blocks things because it's a physical hill that we debunked in 2020. Now, beyond that, there's no need for me to explain to you why the horizon is the way it is. I can. Yes, I definitely understand why the horizon would do that as you raise in altitude. Yes, I've got a very, very good understanding of why it does that. But I'm not making any claims in that regard, so I don't have to. What I can do is debunk the claim that it's a hill. Make no mistake, it's a physical hill curving away from your view at 8 inches per mile squared, with a physical limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in the maths you used to tell me how far things should be seen at. Now, that doesn't dictate the world we see. You know what does? Your eyes. They dictate what you can and can't see based on what you can see with them, not whether or not there's a hill getting in the way in a Muppet Vision maths where it says there's a hill getting in the way. There isn't. We've debunked that.
Gotcha.
Would you like to know how your idea of Earth curve was derived? Because we could tell you that and tell you how the models were created if you're interested.
Oh, no, I've done all that type of research and stuff. All the old guys, the old Greek people and all that stuff. I've been through there.
On the contrary.
I've been through that.
No, not from the Greeks. No. The maths that you were using to, question me about what I would claim proved the effects of the horizon when they're claimed to be Earth curve. That claim, that has come to pass as a result of measuring differential angles from a flat surface. Did you know that? Because that's where the Earth curve has come from that you thought was getting in the way of Canada. It's actually based on a mathematical derivation between two horizontal planes, eye level and ground level. Did you know that?
Okay. Yes, sir, I did.
So why are you asking me whether or not Earth curve's getting in the way? If you know that, okay, mate, if you know that a claim of Earth curve has come from a measurement that describes the differential between two planes, that's two flat surfaces.
Yeah.
Why would you ask me whether or not Earth curve's getting in the way if you already know that?
Well, because maybe the math is wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I know you guys don't like follow comment or the structured science as what it is today. You guys, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm asking different questions.
What?
Do you know what the problem is with that statement that you just said?
Yeah, there's a lot wrong.
The math is wrong.
The guys are laymen.
Because
don't labour the point. Yes, it's not science. Yes, it is maths.
No, I'm not going there. I just wanted to say, like you just said, the math is wrong, right? Well, we've been told
I said maybe it's wrong. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe it's wrong, but we've been told that this geometric horizon, aka the Earth curve, that only exists in the math, right? We've had that actually stated to us by people on your side. So yeah, what you're saying or what you're seeing out at this lake, because even you yourself said, what was it that you said? There's no hill in the lake. Well, I want you to stick to that statement because that's the point, right? They're telling you that all the lakes, all the oceans are actually hills. That's the okie doke that they have you thinking because they taught you live on a globe all your life, right? But like you said,
I got you. I see what you're saying. I don't. Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's not how I come to understand how the it's set up. But I totally get what you're saying.
Okay, tell us. Well, tell us.
What do you guys think about spherical?
No. Before we move on, you said that's not how you've come to understand it. Well, just explain how you've come to understand it. We're intrigued.
That there is no hill. It's the same reason that, like, say we took a basketball, or we took the Earth and we reduced it down to the factor of 1 in 634,472,073. Okay, that would make a human, a 6 foot tall human in perspective would be 0.000000945 of an inch. That's 250 times smaller than a dust mite. So if you put that on a basketball, you would think the basketball would be flat too. You would never notice it. It's all perspective. Now, if a human being stands on a basketball,
okay, guys, hold on. I don't think it's quite done.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Same basketball.
What's that, Oakley?
Versus dust mite. We wouldn't be able to perceive that it's flat, in spite of Earth curve maths. If you were the dust mite on the basketball, would still, for your dust mite, have an Earth curve claimed to be at 1.2 times the square root of that dust mite's height in nanometers. There's still a claimed Earth curve measurable for the dust mite on the basketball. Same Earth curve claim in the maths that's on screen now. So you're saying, well, it's imperceivable. Why the hell is the maths to measure it then? If that's your now claim, when you were telling us there was a hill getting in the way and asking me how it should or shouldn't be appearing at altitude, that's your claim that the hill is apparent. The hill block in Canada, that's apparent, according to your original claim. Now you're justifying how we can't see it as it being really small when I've got the maths for how much hill gets in the way on screen for the audience. So it's like you're flip-flopping between we can't perceive the hill that gets in the way, therefore it's not a hill, but it'll block the bottom of Canada with its hill-like physical nature blocking the bottom of stuff. So which way do you want to go, mate? Is it a hill getting in the way of Canada, or is it imperceivably blocking Canada? Make up your mind.
No, that was to explain how big in relation the Earth is to the human. Now, it wasn't really saying that. It wasn't really stating about the hill. It was just stating, it's showing you how things can be perceived differently. If you're, what I'm saying, imagine being this 250 times smaller than a dust mite, not the size of a dust mite, 250 times smaller.
But do you hear
because if you wanted to be,
do you hear what you're doing?
Well, yeah, it's an actual experiment. You can do this experiment.
No, hold on. What you're doing is actually giving us a claim of there's Earth curve, right? And then simultaneously trying to position yourself so that you could tell us how there is no curve, how it's not perceivable, how it looks flat because we're so small, right? This is an argument we've heard so many times. Oh, the Earth curve, the Earth is so big. This is why you can't see the curve. Well, if you can't see it, how did you measure it in the first place? Going back to the math, right?
Yeah, that's a couple different experiments in that itself. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's why I said.
What he's telling you, that's not an experiment. What he's telling you is you just contradicted yourself.
Let's address that before we move on. So, do you understand, Robo or Rob Noxious, that on the one hand you're saying we can't perceive Earth curve, on the other hand you're asking us why we can perceive Earth curve blocking the bottom of land in the distance?
I got you. Do you think that this is based on?
Don't ask me something.
Distrust?
Stop. Stop.
Okay.
Don't ask me a question.
I'm sorry.
You need to slowly acknowledge. Yes, Nathan. I understand that I've spent the last 15 minutes with contradictory questions based on a claim that's been debunked for about 3 years.
I'm sorry. I'm just asking questions, man.
No. I'll try once more. Listen carefully. You have posed contradictory statements. On the one hand, please don't interrupt. It's the third time of asking you to just concede that you've contradicted yourself. On the one hand, Earth's so big, us so small, no Earth curve to perceive. That is statement 1. Statement 2, Earth curve perceivably blocking landing distance. You interrupted me, didn't you?
No.
Do you understand that those two things are in complete contradiction with one another?
That's not really how I said it, I don't think.
Yes, it is. It is precisely what you said. We are like a dust mite, so small compared to the basketball that we cannot perceive it as curving. It appears flat. That is your statement. No perception of curve appearing flat. Second statement. We can see Earth curve hill blocking Canada. Fourth time. You just need to say, yes, I understand. I'm making contradictions, for the love of God, man. How long's this going to take? We can't move on until you accept that you've contradicted yourself. Just
it sounds contradictory when you explain it like that. It sounds contradictory, but that wasn't what
sounds like. That wasn't what I was. Kind of. It is. It's a direct contradiction. I can see curve.
No, because I explained to you, but I tried to explain. I tried to explain my reasoning
deaf,
for it.
My friend. We aren't deaf. The audience isn't deaf. Nobody on the panel's deaf. Nobody in Discord's deaf. Everybody's heard the two contradictory statements, and you're saying, yeah, when you say like that, kind of sounds like it kind of is. Yeah, no, it is.
No, because I gave you the reason why you see that, though.
It is contradictory. It's just very painful for you, a kind of on the fence kind of globe believer, to accept that when we take apart the initial claim that there's Earth curve hill blocking Canada, you then go to can't perceive Earth curve, it's flat to our perception. Those two things contradict each other. We're still at the same fifth repetition of me pointing out the contradiction and you not accepting it.
I'll just say it's not your fault for doing that. It's just kind of how you sort of kind of have to argue the globe, because there is no perceivable curvature. There's no measurable curvature. As a matter of fact, the curvature that you were talking about actually came from a flat plane. So that's why there's really no curvature. But in order to argue it, you have to believe there's curve, and then you have to simultaneously tell us how flat it looks because it's so big. That's the contradiction. Now, I know you might not get that.
Well, I was more or less trying to. Yeah, I was more or less trying to point out.
Rob, you pointed out that we are so small on the air. And Nathan explained you how small we are. We are small so much that we can see 3 miles horizon. That's the globe math. Do you understand that?
Yeah, but I'm a mariner, but you need to see more than 3 miles.
But you need to understand this.
Everyone on G Plus and Sasha. Right, you got 3 words out. I'm a mariner. You need to understand. Go ahead, Robo. Everybody else, please. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that I am a mariner. I spend a lot of time in the water. I definitely can see more than 3 miles at a time.
Yeah.
I've driven out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the point of this. This what you're saying, what you said, like we are so small and Earth is big, big, big. And Nathan explained to you this math radius telling you that you cannot see more than 3 miles in the distance. Then it's starting to drop. That is that hill that it's starting to drop. Let's say, but if you see more than 3 miles, there is no such a thing called curvature.
Yeah, but I think the perception of it being a hill is misconstrued.
It's not a perception. It's a math
Sasha,
of globe.
Stop. Sorry, misconstrued. On screen for the audience.
Yes.
That's not your cue to talk over the top of me, my friend. You've said your perception of what I'm claiming, that's curvature, is misconstrued. I heard you. Now I'm going to tell the audience it's on screen. Detailed by me accurately as 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is the point of the physical limitation, edge of the hill, getting in the way. It's marked with an X in this diagram, labelled horizon. I'm not misconstruing anything. You're just contradicting yourself. And now you're blaming me for my misapprehensions of what a hill is when it's on screen in Earth curve maths, marked with an X and labelled horizon. I'm not misconstruing anything. Let's get that absolutely clear. It's just not physically there and we don't see it and we can debunk it. Yeah, and when we point that out, you've told us how flat we would perceive it, and we've pointed out that that contradicts your original claim that it's blocking Canada. The hill on the diagram marked horizon is the edge of the point that blocks Canada in your original claim that has then been contradicted by how imperceivably curved it is when you say it's flat because we're the size of a dust mite on a basketball. So we're still at the 6th attempt with you desperately trying to whistle past that and everybody else around you trying to help you, it seems. 6 times. You just need to say, yes, Nathan, I understand how my second statement of how flat we would perceive it utterly contradicts my first statement that it's blocking the bottom of Canada. Can you do that for us? Is that not possible?
I will not be able to do that at this time.
Well, then you are unreasonable. Go away, unreasonable man. I don't want to waste my time with unreasonable people who, in the face of 6 concise pointings out of their concise inconsistency, their contradiction, can't accept it. Why would I have any more conversation with you? You're unreasonable. Do you understand you are not a reasonable man?
This always happens, man. That's why I don't understand. I try to talk to the people, and it's like everybody gets so upset and angry.
Not upset. I'm saying I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're unreasonable. So when you contradict yourself and I point it out 6 times, you don't accept it and say you won't. That's not the behaviour of a reasonable man. Therefore, I don't want to talk to you because you're unreasonable.
I think that's a cop-out. I think that I was being totally reasonable. I think my experiment is
don't
take the back. Jesus wept. Guys in G+. Yeah, he knows he can sucker you in by saying experiment, and he's trying to weasel away from the now 7th attempt to point out that not perceivable curve isn't the same as seeing curve blocking Canada. That's a contradiction. Fact. Now, I'm going to do this all day because it demonstrates to the audience, Robo or Robonoxious, that being a ball believer, fact, makes you unreasonable. You are unwilling to accept this glaring contradiction you have made. You are desperate to move on and are more than happy to project how unreasonable I am in discussion when your unwillingness to accept your own contradiction is what's on the table for now the 7th time for you to accept or decline for me to then repeat that you are in fact unreasonable. Not me. I'm not upset. Would you like me to say it with a smile? How unreasonable it is to not accept a contradiction that's been pointed out to you 7 times? Do I seem upset while I say this with a giant smile because it's glaring to my audience just how unreasonable you are as a bull believer? No, my friend, I'll do this all day. Showing my audience just how unreasonable bull believers are is what I do with a big smile. Not upset. Let's get that cleared up too. Now, 8th attempt. Saying that Earth's imperceivably curved because we're as small as a dust mite on a basketball is to say we can't perceive curve, but you've also claimed that curve is blocking the bottom of Canada. Those 2 things are in direct contradiction. Yes. And you are now interrupting.
No, they're not.
And you are now interrupting me. Again, the behaviour of a reasonable man, ladies and gentlemen. As I attempt for the 8th time to point out this glaring contradiction that he won't and has made clear he will not accept, is it reasonable that he talks through the top of it? It's still a contradiction that he hasn't accepted. No, I am not unreasonable. I'm a very reasonable man. 8 attempts to get an unreasonable man to accept a contradiction. Shout out to Sensual Goat. What a Richard Granium.
But I didn't make a contradiction, Nathan.
Yes, you did.
I was trying to explain the reason why that happened.
Yes, you did.
It's not a contradiction.
Yes, you did make a contradiction. I pointed it out 8 times.
Both are simultaneously true. I don't understand why it's so hard to comprehend.
No, that's fine. Do you want to explain how you violate the law of non-contradiction with this, please? Go ahead.
Yes, here we go. Because, like I said, when you're at ground level, okay, when you're at sea level or ground level, and you're standing there, the average person of an average height, your eyes are limited to what you can see, okay? But that can be tricked and improved by gaining elevation in the same area. So if I'm standing at one point and I'm at the ground and I raise my elevation however many feet, I'm going to have different views of things. This right there will prove to you that the Earth is round.
Okay, could you give me the mathematics for it, please?
Yeah, 1 second.
I've given it you already 5 times. I know it verbatim.
Oh, I know you do. Because that's your job, man. You're a pro. I know. I heard you're the best there is. That's why I'm here, man.
That's excellent. So
that
do you know the
has nothing to do with
mathematics?
his contradiction, though.
Yeah,
that was
still
just
in the
a
same
little
contradiction.
story. He just repeated himself again.
Yes, exactly. He's rinsed and repeated the same claim. He hasn't accepted his contradiction. He's made the original assertion along with the contradiction. Yeah, we know.
Right.
The title is expert, mate, in advanced heliocentrism.
Shout out to original heroes.
A course on.
Just 1 sec. He says, his voice sounds familiar. Same heliocentric heretic perpetuating a fraud, being one seeking the truth or to learn anything.
The equation I used was I came up with radius equals diameter over circumference.
Oh, brother.
Oh, dear.
That was how I used mine.
Radius. Yeah, where's this going? Nathan? Just to let you know, Nathan, and I know I hate to interrupt this. This is going to go down the tubes. I just want you to know that Matthew Learns is here, just so you know.
Oh, well, how privileged we are. Does he have a pseudonym?
All right, so thank you for entertaining. Thank you for entertaining my questions, Nathan. I'm sorry that I have some, wasn't the best questions or whatever. I have one more question. How many degrees does a triangle equal?
What does this have to do with the shape of the Earth again?
Oh, this will prove that the Earth is round. How many degrees is a triangle?
Like degrees.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Degrees being something that's capable from a curve.
Well, no, just what's the total?
So maybe sit down and shut up. Maybe sit down and shut up. Thank you. Hello, Matthew. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for joining
what was he asking about? It's 180 degrees. Anyway.
Okay, 180 degrees. So how can you make a triangle on a sphere with 390-degree angles?
Matthew, we're not querying Rob Noxious. Somebody put Rob Noxious on mute, please. We're dealing with Matthew Learns.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Did you get our response?
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say thank you for featuring my video the other day. I posted a link to your response in the pinned comment on the video. So.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no. Stop.
I appreciate it.
No. That is my main objective.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to thank him. If he's actually done precisely what I've requested for the people responding, then he is my poster child. So thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate that.
But I have something to say if I can.
Sasha, go ahead. Yeah.
Now, Matthew, I told you on 24/7, you came here now. You now take that video, what Nathan make it, analyze that video and go for every point and say, Nathan, and make a video because you have YouTube channel and say, Nathan, and this guy, and this guy.
Hello. Who the hell are you? You're his boss. What the hell?
I was going to say.
No, I
Matthew,
mean, it's a good idea.
A proper welcome, guys. This is shocking.
I'm a listener, you know.
Shocking.
And I want to.
Right. G+, just and can I just have Matthew? First of all, thank you, right, for putting Nathan's link in your video. It's really appreciated. We're really silenced over here, and It's one way for us to get our message out, whether you agree with it or not. And thank you for being a gentleman. And secondly, welcome. And I'm sure you maybe have some questions where we maybe just shut our mouths and listen to you as you graciously come over here. Over to you, Matthew.
Indeed.
No, I will start by saying that I think you were right to point out the thing about the different rates of rotation versus speed. I think that I should have been more clear in my video to describe the difference, RPMs versus speed at the equator versus an ant on a clock and all that type of thing. So I think that was a well-received constructive criticism. And if I were to redo it, I would try to expand that section to explain it a little bit better.
I see. When you expand upon it,
Only that one part?
would you consider giving us perhaps the measurement of the R value that the assertion for a sphere Earth rotating would be based on? Perhaps you could tell us now.
Yeah. Well, okay, so if something's rotating, there's the RPM, there's the speed at the end of the thing that's rotating, and then there's the acceleration experience at the end. Those three things.
Isn't really what I asked.
Matthew, he's not asking you that.
No, so I understand. And in order to get those three numbers,
The reason you're being interrupted, I'm really sorry, Matthew. Hold on 1 second. The reason you're interrupted is because it seems you've dodged my question.
I'm saying, I'm sorry, I was explaining it too much. But basically,
do you want me to ask the question
yes,
again?
you have to have the radiation in order to do those. Go ahead.
So the radius that you would assert for the rotational value, could you tell us where that's measured for an Earth that's assumed to be spherical? Where's the radius measured?
I would say it's never been directly measured. I would say instead that it's been calculated.
Sorry, let me get this straight. The sphere Earth radius has never been measured, Matthew.
I said it never been directly measured. Like nobody's slapped a ruler on it and like measured. Oh,
there's no other way than to measure something than to directly measure it, Matthew.
Right, and so that's why I say that instead we do calculations and calculate it.
So Nathan asked you,
same with the height.
Was it directly measured? And you said no. So let's move on from there. Nathan, please.
So what do you base the assumption on if it's not been measured?
Calculations, just like the height of Mount Everest has never been directly measured, but it's been calculated. And for me, that's good enough.
Really?
But the assumption is that it's spherical in the first instance. Why would you make the assumption that it's spherical in the first instance if you have no measurement?
That's a good question. I like to split those into two different questions. Question number one is the Earth a sphere? And then question number two is what is the radius? And I don't think it makes any sense at all to ask question number two, what is the radius? What is the measure of the radius? Unless you first assume that the Earth is a globe. Obviously, you're not going to get a radius if it's...
Sorry, my question isn't that you assume it, is why would you assume it?
I would assume it based on things like sunsets, it's dark at midnight, celestial navigation.
Just one at a time. Sorry, celestial navigation?
Oh, sorry.
Celestial navigation.
Take us through how celestial navigation would lead you to the assumption that Earth is a sphere.
I don't know celestial navigation very well, so I won't be able to explain it very well. You just use it as an evidence that
Earth was a sphere, though, Matthew. Like 20 seconds ago, you said that it was an evidence.
So
my bad. 20 seconds ago, when I asked you what would lead you to the assumption that Earth is a sphere, devastating though that concession is, you've said that celestial navigation was on the list after saying sunsets. That was what I heard, correct?
That's right.
So celestial navigation. So celestial navigation, then. Tell us how that would lead you to assume Earth is a sphere, please.
I trust the experts in celestial navigation.
That's an appeal to. That's an appeal to what? You're appealing to the experts. No,
appeal to authority.
No. Stop. You have assumed Earth's a sphere. What leads you to assume it's a sphere? Not my experts. What leads you, as the mathematician assuming it, to assume it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Aside from what the experts say, I would say things like my own observations. The full moon never changes size all night long, or never changes apparent size.
My bad. I don't understand. The moon isn't the ground we're standing on being spherical, is it? That's a light in the sky.
Right. My understanding is that the heliocentric model claims that the moon stays the same distance.
Stop. We haven't got to the heliocentric model. We've got to... That's way ahead of where we are. You're jumping miles ahead. No. Let's not jump to the heliocentric model. Where do you get the audacity to assume Earth's a sphere in the first instance? So far, we've had me experts, my celestial navigation that I don't know anything about, and sunsets. That's what we've had so far. When I've pointed out, well, notwithstanding the experts, what in celestial navigation that are measuring elevation angle measurements from a flat plane, they're definitely not proving the Earth's a sphere, Matthew. But you don't know much about that, and you appeal to the experts that measure the flat plane when they use a flat plane to navigate with. That's celestial navigation. So we'll cross that off the list, not that you know much about it. But sunsets and the moon. The moon's a light in the sky. That's not going to give you anything in terms of the nature of the plane that's measured for navigation. So where do you get the audacity to assume it's a sphere? Sunsets is the only other thing you've not actually ticked off that list yet. So how does that prove we're on a sphere for you to assume it in your maths?
Yeah, when I live near the ocean, so I can watch the sunset over the ocean. And when I've seen it on a clear day, it appears to disappear bottom up. And so it seems like it's being obscured by something. And so if it's being obscured by the ocean, then that would imply that the ocean is curved.
Why?
Because the sun isn't actually at the ocean. It's not actually touching the ocean, even though it appears to be. And based on reports of other people saying, hey, the sun's high in the sky when I'm watching the sunset, that would imply that there's something blocking the bottom of the sun and my eye.
No, I heard that the first time. My question was, why would it infer that something is blocking it?
When you can't see things, it's typically because there's a physical obstruction.
Oh, really?
Usually, yeah. I mean,
really?
I'm open to other
if I was to hold up, say, a human hair and walk away 100 paces, would it be disappearing because of an obstruction, that human hair at 100 paces, Andrew?
No, that's a good example of when it wouldn't be. Yeah.
So typically, you said typically, I've just immediately, without hesitation, come up with an example that isn't that. So not typically then. So my question remains, why would you assume it's a physical obstruction when that's not typically the case?
Because it's big enough to see. So a human hair gets smaller and smaller, but I don't see the sun getting smaller. So I'm saying that like the sun, when it's setting, it's actually big enough to see.
But you don't see it getting smaller and smaller. What is the sun precisely?
I think it's a big ball of helium and hydrogen gas mostly.
It's a second law of thermodynamics violation, though, wouldn't it be?
Most people, I'm not an expert in second law, but I don't think...
That's an appeal to consensus that I'm not that interested in. My question, I'll repeat. In terms of what you think the sun should do in terms of its not actual size not changing, that's apparent size. So you don't know about what its actual size is doing, do you?
Yeah, you're right. I'm talking about the
okay, so we can scratch that off the list. We're getting slimmer and slimmer in terms of this. What was it originally that we were asking about? Why you would have the audacity to assume Earth's a sphere? Because the not actual size of the sun moving out away from your position and above someone else's assumes a blockage, even though I immediately detailed the effects of perspective. Now, unless you know what the sun is, which you do not, then you're only going by its not actual size. When you say it doesn't get smaller, are you not?
Yeah, you're right. I'm talking about
it's irrelevant. So we'll just scratch that then, won't we? Okay, moving on.
Wait,
why would you then assume R? We still haven't got to the point where you're assuming R with any reasonable, exceptional, justifiable reason to do so when it's an extraordinary claim.
Yeah, like I said before, you can't measure R unless you assume that the Earth is a globe. So you're not gonna assume R or measure R or calculate R without that assumption first.
So if we don't assume it, and you've given no reasonable reason to do so.
Yeah, if you don't assume that the Earth is a sphere, then trying to calculate R is sort of nonsensical, of course.
I would agree.
Me too.
My kitchen also agrees.
Okay, so you also mentioned celestial navigation. Do you know what an elevation angle is?
Yeah, it's how high above 90 degrees a star appears, like the angular elevation.
So 90 degrees to your position. So 90 degrees would be the zenith, and 90 along a baseline to your position, correct?
Yeah. I was thinking from straight down a plumb line, or like a bubble sextant, I think, uses a bubble.
Oh,
So,
that wouldn't give me the zenith of the star, though, would it? 90 degrees would also be the relationship the star has with the ground, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Measuring the zenith
degrees.
position of the star 90 degrees to your position along a baseline.
Yeah.
So Earth is flat.
The baseline is flat.
That's what the ground you'll be navigating.
Yeah, so the base. So you're only looking at the elevation angle from where you're at. It doesn't matter what it is. 10 feet in front
and
of you.
That is 90 degrees to the star, flat. From you to the zenith of the star is flat, and that's the ground you're navigating. Correct?
Well, what do you mean by the zenith of the star?
90 degrees below the star is what you're measuring. The zenith position of the stars, 90 degrees to your position.
Oh, I see. You mean directly below the star?
Yes, the zenith of the star. That's the fourth time I've said it.
I would have called that the ground position.
So the GP of the star, the ground position, the zenith position is 90 degrees to your position along a flat baseline. Ergo, the ground you are navigating is flat. Correct, Matthew?
I don't think so. No, I think.
Would you like to explain how it's not flat when you're measuring 90 degrees to the position on the ground? You say ground position. Yeah, that's right. 90 degrees to the zenith. That's the baseline. Yes.
So
it's not a question.
If I'm trying to find the ground,
it's my question to you. So yes, 90 degrees baseline to your position, zenith of the star, its ground position, its GP. We're all clear, aren't we? You understand?
Yes,
you just need to say yes.
Yes, the ground position is directly under the star. That's correct.
With 90 degrees along the baseline.
90 degrees from that position on the Earth to the star is straight up. That's 90 degrees, yes.
Yes, so between you and the ground position of the star, which has 90 degrees to the line at its zenith, ground position, that's a flat baseline. That's the fourth attempt, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if you can say yes this time.
No, it's not.
Oh, really? So how do you have 90 degrees if that line isn't flat?
You can have a curve on a ball and
that's not my question. My question was, how do you have 90 degrees if it's not flat?
You could use the tangent and make it flat.
To achieve 90 degrees at the base of the zenith of the star, you use a tangent. Or does it just have a 90 degree to your position, as you have already conceded?
He'll have diverging zeniths.
Can't have diverging zeniths. We'll get there later, Adam. So far, he's already conceded 90 degrees, flat baseline. Somehow he's now saying no. It seems like we're going to have to give you the same treatment as the last guy, where we point out your contradiction if you're now disagreeing with it having a flat baseline and 90 degrees to the ground position. Do you now say that's not the case where you've already conceded it is, Matthew?
The position directly under the star is 90 degrees. The star is directly above that point.
And that's what you're measuring.
I understand that part.
At 90 degrees, and you're measuring it. So 90 degrees to your position, that's flat, isn't it, Matthew? I know this is painful.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not? How could it be? Third time's a charm. How can it be 90 degrees if it's not flat, Matthew? Are you a mathematician, Matthew?
I am a mathematician.
I study performing arts. How is it that I'm dragging you around third attempt to ask you how something with 90 degrees cannot be flat, and this is the third time? Are you a university mathematician? Because a drama student has currently got you by your short hairs. Third time, how can it not be flat if it's 90 degrees to the zenith ground position, Matthew?
It can't.
So it's definitely flat then, if it can't be.
At that point,
Sorry, you seem to be stuttering. Just try and be clear like you were talking to your students. It is.
I would ask you the same
flat.
without being clear.
Sorry, it's flat, Matthew, between your position and that 90 degree to the zenith. Correct?
I'm trying my hardest to picture what you have in your mind and what you're saying.
A triangle. It's a triangle, my friend. A triangle. Do you know what a triangle is? Try and picture that.
Yes.
Do you know what a 90 degree triangle is, Matthew?
Yes, I'm picturing
Imagine
a
the flat bit that meets the 90. Imagine the straight line going up being the zenith, and then the 90 degree being the baseline that meets it along the ground to your position. Do you know about that triangle? This isn't really that complicated, Matthew. Do you understand that if you've got a zenith that's plumb to the ground, that's the ground position, and it's 90 degrees to the baseline ipso facto is flat? Fifth attempt with a university-grade mathematician being dragged around by his short as by a drama student.
Okay, so yes, 46.
Sorry, do you want to say it louder? Sorry, yes, it is a flat baseline that we will be navigating.
Yes, it is a flat base.
Earth is flat then, Matthew. Then the Earth is flat.
Okay, so I'm picturing what I posted in.
Sorry,
in the chat.
you just need to concede like the last guy. The baseline we will be travelling along and are navigating is functionally and mathematically flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh yeah, sure.
So
yeah,
Earth, that would be the Earth. That would be the Earth that we will be navigating is flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, we're navigating on the Earth, and functionally it's flat, and we navigate along a flat map, of course.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Matthew. That's correct. From a university-grade mathematician, for all of you ladies and gentlemen, that will be trimmed out and posted everywhere. That's a university-grade mathematician telling you, the audience, that Earth is functionally measured and navigated flat. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Of course, that's why all maps are flat. Like,
of course.
I mean, the 3D, except for 3D maps, but most maps are flat.
Of course.
So they're all flat because the grid system for the map has come from elevation angle measurements to Polaris. Those are also right-angled triangles with the zenith position of Polaris running along a flat baseline all the way out to the equator for the equatorial plane. So all of the maps are flat because they have to functionally work with flat Earth elevation angle measurements, the ones you just conceded after 5 attempts.
Yeah, so I posted a picture of a triangle used for celestial navigation.
Sorry, why do you think we care when you've just proved Earth's flat, Matthew? You are a baller, and you've just proven Earth's flat, functionally measured flat. The ground that's being navigated is flat.
John's picture from his website.
Sorry, did you want to talk through me, Mr. Professor? So I'm not interested in your triangle. We know it took you 5 attempts to concede that a triangle with a 90 degree doesn't have a curve meeting it. It took 5 attempts. Do you think that you need to hog the mic now, Mr. Mathematician? You're not in some privileged position with students. You are the student being educated that 90 is not going to be meeting a curve. It took me 5 attempts with you, Matthew. So like the other guy, you can shut up now. We have no respect for you as a mathematician. I stand by what I said in my video, that you should be fired. To have me, a drama student, telling you, the mathematician, that when something meets a zenith at 90, it doesn't bend 5 times means you should be sacked. Do you hear me? Don't tell me about your triangle diagram. I know what a triangle is. You took 5 attempts of me telling you that it won't have a curve meeting it. So sit down and shut up, Matthew. Earth is flat. You've done what you needed to do here. You've served your purpose for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help.
What, prove Earth's flat? You helped immensely. Did you all hear that, ballers? That was one of your kin. A globe believer. A mathematician, no less. Detailing explicitly. Yeah, we had to drag him around a little bit beforehand. The drama aficionado. Pulling around the mathematician who's teaching our kids. His nonsense has to be educated about 5 times. That no, when you meet something at 90 and you're a triangle, you're not meeting a curve. making Earth functionally flat. That's right. Very helpful indeed. How did you think you would get on here today, Matthew?
Oh, I was just listening to somebody else called me out. Sorry about that.
Chuckling like this is amusing. The world's been deceived, Matthew. The world's told by people like yourself that it's functionally spherical while they lie and deceive with mathematics about how ants will go round on clocks, only for us to have to correct them. So twice we've had to correct you about curves not meeting 90 degrees in triangles and clocks not being analogous to a presupposed spherical Earth with no justification, and the audacity that you have when you assume it. No justification to assume your spherical value. None.
I think I'm still going to teach my students that the Earth is a sphere and give them evidence for that. And,
what evidence will you give them?
Tell them it's
there
not
isn't
flat.
any. What would you give them?
Eyewitness testimony, pictures from space, GPS, satellite TV, like that type of evidence.
Let's go in reverse order. GPS uses Cartesian grid system. Were you aware of that?
It uses the Cartesian grid system. That's right.
That's also derived from flat Earth. My bad. I was responding. That's a flat Earth.
The point of bringing up GPS is to ask where those satellites are.
Excuse me. The system is used for navigation and is a Cartesian flat Earth grid system. You said you would teach children this lie based on GPS, which is a flat Earth Cartesian grid system. But you would say that it's about the satellites. I see. So you teach it based on its name only, not about how it's actually utilising a flat plane. You just go to space. Have you been to space to lie to them about what it is?
No, I'm never going to go to space.
So you're going to lie to them based on what your experts told you then?
I'm going to tell them what the experts say, yes.
Why?
Because I think that that's true.
Why? Well, you haven't been to space. In fact, space is a second law of thermodynamics violation. Entropy. Do you not know of this law of nature? Definitely not real. But we've already proven that one of the things you would lie to the children about, this sphere Earth assumption you haven't justified, is based on a Cartesian flat Earth system called GPS. That's nothing to do with Earth and orbital presuppositions of the satellites, and everything to do with the navigation system that's flat.
So it is based on a Cartesian coordinate system of latitude and longitude, but I don't think that that only is on a flat surface. It can.
Where'd you get latitude from? Where was that derived from? We've already covered this, by the way.
The angle to Polaris.
What, the one that you made absolutely clear is functionally flat? That one?
No, just the...
Sorry, no. I think you'll be remiss if you don't say yes, given that it took me 5 attempts to get you to concede it. Yes, you mean? Right, do you think an elevation angle measurement to Polaris... Excuse me. Do you think an elevation angle measurement to Polaris can have a curved baseline? Do we need to do this for a 6th time?
Triangles are made up of perfectly straight lines. They can't have a curved baseline.
So an elevation angle measurement to Polaris to give you latitude won't be derivable from a curved surface then, will it, Matthew?
No, you have...
So the latitude lines in this Cartesian grid system, they are derived from a flat Earth then, Matthew?
A flat triangle, yes.
A flat plane with an elevation angle measurement to Polaris and circles coming out towards the equator, measured on a flat plane. Like we explained earlier with why all the maps were flat. You don't need to talk as I'm talking, Sunshine. I am not one of your students. Yeah, I have absolutely no respect for you. Like conspiracy cats and child's flat earth math, you are scum. Lying to children with a justification of me experts and me space that violates second law of thermodynamics. That's what you've got.
I'm not scum and I don't deserve to be fired.
Yeah, you do. You've come in here and conceded the incorrect nonsense you've peddled to millions, and you've told me that you'll justify lies to children about an R-value you haven't justified because of the way satellites work in a presupposed orbit, as opposed to a Euclidean system that uses triangles with right angles to Polaris that's measured off a flat plane and using a Cartesian flat plane grid system. That's not justifying the lie to the children of a sphere, Matthew. So you are scum.
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
I did. I am characterising you to your face as scum based on the lies I've pointed out to you.
I don't think they're lies. I think
so. Cartesian flat Earth grid system isn't justifying the orbital motion you say the satellites get it from is using, when the system itself is used with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to derive the grid system in the first instance. That's not a justification to lie to children about an R value you haven't justified. You are scum. I'm not categorising you as it. I'm giving an example of you being scum.
I agree that it's always wrong to lie to children. I think I'm telling the truth.
You think you're telling the truth when I've proven that the justification of GPS uses a Cartesian flat Earth grid system?
So
you agree?
The reason I brought up GPS was not about the Cartesian system, but...
Sorry, it's a system that uses navigation for the ground. And you're going to use the satellites they lie about it using when the system itself is flat. The flat Earth grid system is the system that you're actually navigating, Matthew. You already tried this, you're just rinsing and repeating, and now you feel the necessity to talk over me. I'm not one of your students. You're one of mine. I am the advanced heliocentrist, and you are the student of the triangle used to acquire the elevation angle measurements to Polaris to give you the flat grid system used for navigating the ground in GPS. Now, I've proven how it's a flat system and how the system has been derived from flat angles to a star. Now, that is in no way justification, as you gave, for lying to children about Earth being an assumed radius that you didn't justify. Now, you might not think it's reasonable, but I'm demonstrating to my audience why it's an unreasonable statement to lie to them. I don't care about your cognitive dissonance response.
I'd like to ask Matthew a question.
Feel free, I'm done with it.
Matthew, you said earlier that you assume the Earth is a sphere rotating, and then you apply math to it. And yet you're a mathematician. Do you measure 90 degrees, or do you assume 90 degrees?
In what context? Like when you're looking at
in
what?
The context of celestial navigation, when the star is directly at zenith position over somewhere the Earth, it's given a ground position at 90 degrees. And you with the sextant, are getting the angle from a right angle triangle. So say, for example, you have a 50-degree sighting of the sun above the horizon. That's a right angle triangle. And now you subtract from 90 that 50, and you get 40. 40 times 60 nautical miles, you're 2,400 nautical miles away from the GP of the sun. To you, the observer, also has a zenith, your own GP. That is measured. That is not assumed. You need a flat baseline to do that, and that's how celestial navigation is performed.
The idea of celestial navigation on a globe, which I understand you disagree with, doesn't use right triangles.
It's not, yeah, it does, and he's not agreeing or disagreeing with it. It's what it is. You've already snatched your own wig off. You don't know what an elevation angle is, and you don't know what a right triangle is. Period.
Well, not only that, Matthew, but you've already said you don't know anything about celestial navigation. Now you're going to correct us, who have been putting over 2 years of research into it. So let's revisit what you said. A 90-degree demands a flat baseline, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Then when you take that angle measurement of the sun at 50 degrees, that baseline of the sun is meeting your GP once you figure out your zenith. But you can't figure out your zenith on a moving boat until you do the subtraction from 90. The 50 gives you 40. Now that gives you your zenith distance, and that's your co-altitude. That means no diverging zeniths. That means your zenith is directly touching the Earth, perpendicular, just like the sun's. Is there a curve to perpendicular, Matthew?
No, there's no curve in perpendicular.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
I'm going to do a few shout outs. So, shout out to Godzilla37. It says, Matthew learns nothing. Am I right? Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. Shout out JMels24. He says, I'm out of popcorn. Got to make some more. 4 more hours. Face mask, face mask, face mask. Say that 3 times quickly. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, Ted1972 says, this teacher got schooled. Thank you very much indeed for the super chats, guys. Really appreciate the support. Also, JMels24 again, who said, popcorn's ready and I'm feeling good. This is so wrong, but it feels so right. Weird emoji face. Thank you very much, all of you, for the super chat. Sorry I didn't shout them out as it was going along.
I don't know if I could call Matthew a liar, though. I don't think that was called for.
I just call it
I agree with John. I agree with John.
I mean, when you grow up in a paradigm of ignorance, you can't, and you don't know this, and you're teaching what you think is correct. I don't think that's a liar.
No, he's
just
retarded.
wrong.
No, he's retarded.
One of the two.
I already told you that.
What we're trying to figure out, Matthew, is whether it's reasonable for me to ascribe malice to you when we could just as easily ascribe it as stupidity.
Ooh,
I've said it
Dupercoons in
before,
chat says, flat earthers are bullies. We're so bullying to force ballers to see reason.
How does it feel?
We're bullies. Did you hear, Nathan?
Not at all.
We're bullies.
I would say I've kept my disdain to an absolute minimum because, no offence to you, Matthew, in the personal world we probably get on really well, but you're a teacher. So you may not know this, but I hold the highest level of disdain for people in this arena specifically, which is you now. It's been told. We've told you. You've told us how these grid systems are developed from a flat plane. How the maps are all flat so they can work with that grid system. How the angles that you measure to the star are measured off a flat plane. You've confirmed all of this. So for you to go forth and go, I'm going to teach the kids that it's a sphere anyway, well, yeah, I've already told you my opinion. That's just how it is. I'm sorry.
And you started it off with the radius has never been measured.
Calculate.
My thing is, how do you say that so flippantly, and that's not more devastating to you and your assumptions? Because I mean, that's all you
does
got
it bother you that does it bother you that the height of Mount Everest has never been directly measured?
Who cares? Does that fundamentally change my paradigm? Does that put me on a ball flying through a sky vacuum?
No, I'm using it as an example of how calculations
sounds like you don't know the difference between measurement and calculation there, son. Can you tell me the difference?
Calculation uses formulas to figure out something. You measure one thing and then calculate something else. Direct measurement would be like if you slap a ruler on a notebook and see how big it is, something like that.
Measurement and a calculation. That's incorrect. Can you get a citation for? Do we want to go down this road? This is pedantic.
Yes, please.
Can you get a citation that explains the difference between the two? Because that wasn't the difference. You gave me examples. I didn't ask you for an example. I asked you to define it.
Yeah, no, I don't have pedantic definitions for every single thing I say. I was just using an example of my general understanding.
Matthew, if one of your students said to you, teacher, what's the difference between a calculation and a measurement? You wouldn't be able to respond to them?
Yeah, I think using an example is a good response.
Yeah, but what if they ask you for the definition, like we just did? Not an example.
I would encourage them to
I can understand using an example after defining it, but why would you just go right into example?
Oh, because I don't know the definition.
Oh,
I can explain like a human being what is calculation and what is measurement.
Hold on,
it's me.
Why you don't? No, I get it. But I'm saying you don't know what these words mean. But you came in telling us about a calculation for R because you have no measurement. But now you're saying
most people, I have a general understanding. I don't have like a precise definition.
Okay, well, let's just give those. So calculation. a mathematical determination of the amount or number of something, as opposed to measurement being a process of determining how large or small a physical quantity is, as compared to a basic reference of quantity of some kind.
I like those definitions. That sounds great.
Hold on. Measurement always involves some interaction between the object and the observer or observing instrument. There is always an exchange of energy, Matthew. So when we're looking at Mount Everest, is there an exchange of energy there, brother? You clown.
I don't think. No.
Yeah, no. So you're not looking at the mountain.
You're talking about like the light energy coming from the top of Mount Everest?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's cut this short. I think what he's trying to say is, when you say you haven't measured Mount Everest, what you actually mean is we haven't measured it that accurately, right? But it has been measured.
It hasn't been compared against a physical standard like in your definition. So I would agree with your definition.
Yeah, that's right. We're looking at the mountain. Can you show us looking at the curvature? So you can make
I'm
the
saying that
proper
nobody
analogy?
slapped a ruler up on Mount Everest.
Yeah, you're still train wreck. You still return right back to your vomit. I am still exchanging energy with that mountain that I'm measuring. Right? Show us the curvature to make your analogy
light energy
appropriate.
coming from you?
Yeah, light is fucking energy. Yes. Sorry for the F.
So there's a physical interaction.
Are you saying light has no energy?
Let me just summarize. The point being that there's a physical interaction when you look at the mountain to make whatever you're going to call a calculation or measurement. There's a physical interaction with it. Whereas with Earth curvature, there is no physical interaction with it at any point ever. You can't see it.
Precisely, Nathan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I've conceded that nobody's ever measured the curvature of the Earth.
Right. So curvature of the Earth isn't measurable because there is no way to physically interact with it. Ergo, it only exists in the maths.
Right. It's a calculation.
Matthew, but you did intonate earlier that you'd got some form of measurement that you'd then take into calculation to give you your R value. What's pointing out here is there isn't any measurement or interaction at any point. It's all just in calculation and assumption.
Well, it starts from a measurement and then you use that measurement in a calculation.
First taken to then use in calculation to get your R value.
Precisely.
All based on what should be, but what isn't.
So your analogy,
Matthew, do you make sure to affirm?
So your analogy is a train wreck. So your analogy is a train wreck. Have you ever? Well, what do you do when you look at Mount Everest? That is a train wreck, son.
The point of Mount Everest is that they use it. The point of Mount Everest is to say that they use
your way out of this.
He is, but you're stepping on each other. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe I didn't explain very well that the point of bringing up Mount Everest is that we use calculations to determine its height.
That's a measurement.
It's a calculation based on.
It's a measurement.
No,
is the point, Matthew?
When we look at Mount Everest, we're looking.
When you did your calculations for Mount Everest, where did you get your initial numbers from? Did you just calculate them or observe Mount Everest?
You observe Mount Everest and you measure angles and do geometric surveying. And so
perfect. So now when we go to Earth curvature, where is the Mount Everest that we're going to angle to?
Sticks and shadows, Eratosthenes angle.
Sorry, those angles would require they'd require a flat Earth also.
No, but is a shadow the curving Earth that I'm supposedly measuring, or is it something completely different that's not a measurement of the thing that I'm going to calculate. It's a measurement of something completely different. It's a shadow.
Right. It's a measurement of something completely different. It's a measure of an angle of a shadow.
Right. So is that reasonable? Without
yes, you use
assumption.
No, without an assumption, it's not reasonable. Of course, you can't get it
at all. So we should just put that one to one side. I think this is the point of the analogy. You don't have a mountain to measure an angle to. You've not observed the mountain.
So if this Earth curve is only in existence in the maths, and there's no physical interaction to take a measurement of it, and you appreciate that you can only infer it by assumption, do you not see how that seems very unreasonable to any reasonable person after having that explained to them?
Of course. So you have to assume that the Earth is a globe in order to try and get a radius. What sense does it even mean to get a radius if the Earth is not a globe?
Okay. I realise that perhaps in maths this doesn't necessarily come up very often, but that's a fallacy in logic called begging the question.
Right. If you're trying to prove that the Earth is the globe.
Stop. Try that once more. So yes, was your reply. That's what I need. Yeah. So your fallacy in logic is your justification for lying to the kiddies, correct?
It is a fallacy in logic to say that to use the radius of the Earth to prove that the Earth is a sphere. Correct.
To assume your outcome. That's begging the question.
Yeah, because it's begging
that's
the
okay.
question.
I'm not a student of yours. Yet when I talk, you listen to me. The one who knows more about your belief in this sphere than you do. I understand the flaw in logic you are employing, Matthew. You said yes, and then started waffling. No. At the point that you concede that what you're using to justify your assumption is the necessity for the assumption, that is a unreasonable way to assume. It's a flaw in logic. It is a logical fallacy. Yes, that's where we got to last time. This time, I don't want you to waffle on when you say yes. I will berate you for your use of logical fallacy to lie to children when you educate them about the sphere belief that you have based on flaws in logic. Now, I don't see it as reasonable to lie to children about your assumptions based on flaws in logic. Yeah, that's not reasonable. Do you understand my disdain for you and my justification for calling you scum when you justified lying to children based on a flaw in logic?
Yes, I understand your disdain if that's what you think I'm doing.
No, you are doing that. You have just told me how you assume Earth is a sphere because that's the only way you can justify measuring its radius. That is a flaw in logic called begging the question. That's not what I think you're doing, it's what you factually are doing, and it's your justification for lying to students about Earth being a sphere. Now, that is why I have a high level of disdain for teachers in this arena, like conspiracy cats. Because he knows better. We've told you it's a flaw in logic. You've conceded it's a flaw in logic. So it is not a reasonable justification to tell students Earth's a sphere. Comprende?
Eratosthenes is not a proof of the Earth being a sphere.
Eratosthenes, the first word out of his mouth.
So my disdain, my reasoning for calling you scum is because you've justified it with a logical fallacy. Not reasonable.
Not Eratosthenes. Yes, Nathan, or no, Nathan?
No.
No, it's not reasonable to lie to the students based on a flaw in logic you hold.
It's not reasonable to lie to students ever.
So, were you to justify telling the students that Earth's a sphere, having had the flaw in logic pointed out to you, would you now concede that if you continue to do so, it's perfectly reasonable to consider you a scum? Based on the fact you now know it's a flaw in logic that you used to justify this education you thought you were giving them? No, you were giving them flaws in logic. unreasonable.
You're misunderstanding what I'm telling them. I'm not using Eratosthenes to prove that the Earth is a sphere. All I say is that he used that to measure the radius, not to prove that the Earth is a sphere.
The same radius that you said was never measured. That radius.
Right.
And you're not measuring it.
If you're measuring angles from the ground. Sorry, no. I've got to just point out Jimmy's flaw in logic again. No, stop. Everyone stop.
Did you just say
hello?
right?
Stop. All right. Measure an angle of a shadow from a stick. Why would you assume that the base of that triangle has a curve to it? That is utterly ludicrous.
No, wait a second.
You all shut up.
Nathan. Oh, God.
I'm asking him why, when he told us he was measuring an angle from a shadow, that in any way, beyond the flaw in logic that he's already used, where he assumes he's measuring a sphere, why would assume that that angle was actually a curved line meeting a straight line?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
but we already
angles are always between straight lines.
So
we already compromised this dumbass 3 times with that. So it's already spilled milk. But Chocolate had a point that he wanted to make that I thought was kind of
on point.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
Well, it's based on what he just said, right? You tell the kids that Eratosthenes did what? Please repeat.
He calculated the radius.
No,
that's not what you said before, though.
That's not what you said. You said measured.
You said measured, bro.
He measured an angle. He measured use that to calculate the radius.
Wait, angles, that's straight lines, though, isn't it?
Oh, brother.
It is.
Right. So does this cognitive dissonance hurt as a justification to brainwash the kiddies into your religious belief of a sphere? Is this cognitive dissonance hurting?
No.
Well, we've already gone through the angle about, 7 times? You know, I had a little gloat about how I'm a student of drama, like trained as an actor. And it took 6 attempts for me to get you to concede that you're not going to get a right angle out of a curve. But you're now going back to what you've calculated out of the surface of the angle that you measured was curved. That's utterly absurd. We've already compromised, as just been pointed out by QE. But I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying to explain what I'm telling the kids.
Yeah, I hate you. Yeah, I hate you. You're the reason I homeschool. You're the reason I homeschool my kids, because I don't want people like you to teach my kids. As you chuckle about this. Shut up! Shut up! Stupid man. Telling my audience why I homeschool. Because you, when pointed out and compromised 6 or 8 times, laugh about it. That's why I hate you. And I wouldn't put my kids in front of you.
You think your kids are going to end up as...
I am not going to put my kids in front of you, you lying scum. You understand? It's all that matters. I don't care about your opinion thereafter. It's a fact. Not something you can question or query. That's a fact. It's my justification why I wouldn't let my kids anywhere near you. Because you'll lie to them. And when somebody points out how you've lied to them, you chuckle. You think it's amusing. That's why I hate you. I hate cats. I hate all of the people in this arena who know better, that have been told, like you've been told, that have had to be dragged around by their short hairs with their own bloody words about how wrong they are and about how they're using logical fallacies. And at the end of the process, you laugh. You disgust me, teacher. You should be sacked, and you can shut your mouth while I berate you. You disgust me, and I do believe you should be fired. The very fact that you've come here, have you taken down your video with the incorrect information that you conceded here when you joined? Have you taken that down?
No. And
Scum! Fire him! He's more than content to continue to perpetuate his bullshit lies that he's conceded. He hasn't taken his video down. He's not got an ounce of integrity. Have you, Matthew? Take your video down and put one up with the corrections and acknowledge us in them. Acknowledge me personally for the corrections I gave you and acknowledge the world is flat. I'm not asking you to give your heart to Jesus. I'm asking you to have some intellectual integrity. Do it. Now get the fuck out of my show and site. You can rejoin when you've honoured what I demand you do. That's correct your lies that you conceded when you arrived here. Take down your video with its incorrect nonsense. that you've bullshitted around how Earth is assumed to be a spherical radius value-based system with a turn value that's equivalent of a clock. No, my friend, you can remove that shit and correct it and acknowledge me for correcting you, the one who educated you on how wrong you were, for you to need to concede it. Then you can go away and justify to yourself how you lie to your students with the logical fallacies you employ, while I retain my disgust and disdain for you as a teacher. Okay? Now bugger off. Why are you still here, Matthew? I don't want to keep my blood pressure at this level. Good.
I wanted to have some more fun.
Well, he can go away and take down his incorrect misinformation that he brainwashes millions of people with at my demand. And once he's done that, I might have a minor level of respect for him. Until he does, while he's conceded how wrong he was based on what we damn well told him. Bearing in mind, YouTube land, we are the ones getting suppressed. We are the ones that are shoved to the bottom of the list. We've corrected him, the mathematician who's teaching your kids. He's conceded how wrong he was when he got here. It was the first thing he did. Has he taken down his video? No. Of course he hasn't. Well, that's what I demand as the suppressed YouTuber who doesn't get the views. The ones that he's got from the wrong video he put up. Well, now I'm demanding he takes it down and commends me for correcting him. Yes, so I do actually get some promotion when I correct these idiot mathematicians who teach our kids.
I think you're being a little hard on the guy.
Oh, really, Neil? No, I am just about keeping my shit together here, Neil. Don't test me. Right?
Yeah,
I have the same level of disdain for him.
On one hand, yeah, and what Arwen was about to say is correct. On one hand, because I'm cool with Matthew, I don't like it. But on the other hand, I'm being a hypocrite because if it's not a friend, if all other values are equal, I would be feeling and saying the same thing.
Neil,
bullshit though. I mean, did you see him? Did you not see him laugh?
Neil, did I detect some
dude?
Maybe
hold on, just 1 second. He did get a word in. He managed to get the word in edgeways. Just go ahead to the Bookfin.
I mean, did you not see him laugh and say, "You think your kid's gonna be a flat earther?" I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
Why are you interrupting me when I'm speaking?
I've given him permission, Neil. That's why. Thank you, the book. Go ahead, Neil.
The problem is, like Refracted Curvature said, the guy's been indoctrinated. He doesn't know. He thinks he's correct. Even though you've proven
he doesn't know. He just...
Why do you think he's correct?
Right, Neil. But that's why...
What are you talking about? He just pointed it out many times.
Exactly. We've pointed it out to him. He's come in conceded where we've pointed out to him how wrong he was. So he's in the arena. He's had his corrections. At that point, like with Cats or any other teacher, Charles, Flat Earth Math, at that point, that's when they start smirking. That's when they start laughing as the cognitive dissonance kicks in. Well, that's the point that I just about managed to keep my rage. That's why I told him to get lost, because I'd started losing my temper with him and say something I did regret. Now, I've not regretted anything up until this point. Meant every word of it.
I'll give you a scenario, Neil, because it does seem a little heavy-handed. But on the other end, remember, the only reason it seems heavy-handed is because he's a very passively aggressive individual now. These are the people that I actually despise the most personally myself, because these are the people that would be totally fine trying to massage you into doing something that could potentially poison you.
He was corrected, and he didn't take the correction. He admitted through his own words a number of times that he compromised himself. He was in contradiction. He was using logical fallacy, but still, after the correction that he acknowledged, by the way, he still kept to his company line of teaching the kids a frigging lie. Neil, that's the difference after he was corrected. Before he was corrected, no problem. After
You're right. 100% right. I take everything back. Get him, Nathan!
Exactly. Beautifully summarised. Exactly, Quantum Eraser. I haven't got disdain for teachers. I understand that they're going to educate the kids in what they've been educated to educate them in. I'm not an unreasonable man. But at the point of correction, that is to say, and I always qualify it, the people in this arena, The people who have come and had the education from us, we've told them as advanced heliocentric understanders that they're wrong. And in this instance, Matthew's come on the show and told us how wrong he was. He's conceded. So at that point, I've got nothing but disdain for him. If he's going to say, well, I still think it's a sphere and I'm going to tell the kids anyway. Well, then you're going to get every bit of thunder that I can possibly muster. But with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, obviously a huge, massive, enormous thank you to Matthew for tolerating my disdain and having the balls to do it. Props to you, Matthew. On the other hand, from a YouTube perspective, I've got a lot of admiration for the courage that you actually had to come on here and actually face our criticisms and debate with us. So thank you very much indeed. And of course, a massive thank you to the rest of the Discord panel. And of course, a massive thank you to today's G Plus panel for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. But as I say, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of the panels. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video. Shout out to Gene has a question who made a super chat that I missed. He said, ask him, presumably Matthew, what does he think of a panel of people hashing this out day in, day out for 8 years? And why would he continue this delusion of thought? Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Stay tuned if you're watching an after show.
And she doesn't want to hear nothing about flat Earth because she says she had to teach them what it was in the, in their books.
Sorry, chocolate.
Yeah, that's all good. What's up, Eli? How you been, brother?
Good. Oh man, good.
Proper props to that Matthew guy, man. That took some balls
chocolate, man.
to face down 20 people.
Oh, it's you, brother.
That took some balls, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know why. I don't know why I would do it, but I'm glad it serves a purpose. And we have to remember that this show is based around logic and just straight up, is it a fact or is it not? And we can't let people escape eye on that because that's the principle and the foundation we stand on.
That was a quality bit of bull-jitsu. The number of things he earned up to. Nicely done, Nathan, as well. But to give yourself a wig-snatching Mount Everest analogy to show you don't understand the difference and to prove that your analogy doesn't even support what you're saying. Many good outtakes, I think, in that for the short.
There's so many sound bites.
You're welcome, Adam.
Yeah, good spot, mate.
But in the end of the day, he's gonna change his mind just because it's his paycheck, right? I mean, he's gonna keep going doing the same thing. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier. Was my sister's a teacher and she doesn't want to hear nothing about flat Earth because she says he has to teach this. I mean, she teaches science, but she doesn't know nothing about science because she only teaches what they tell her to teach in a book.
That's perfectly reasonable, right? It's self-preservation. She's going, hold on a second. I don't want to hear anything that might contradict what I've got to teach the kids because it compromises my integrity. Well, that is, in my opinion, much more reasonable a way to be because, you're going, oh, shit, this is going to fuck my career up. Excuse my language. So you go, la, 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 don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear it. Right? As opposed to that Matthew learns the conspiracy cats, the child's flat earth math. They're in the thick of it. They're right in the middle of it. It's not like they've shut off it and kept their integrity relatively clean. Not at all. They're right in the thick of it. QE summarised it beautifully right at the end of the live show.
Yeah, and it's a shame because we all know that our teachers aren't taken care of the way they should be too. So I don't know why they're fighting for the enemy.
Self-preservation. They've got a paycheck that's at risk. Someone asked earlier.
That's what I'm talking about. They're preserving a system that actually has a second side to it. There's the indoctrination, and then there's the indoctrinator that gets some form of benefits that are ultimately not really worth their weight in gold and what they're doing to those children.
Well, you asked earlier, Eli. Just one second. You asked earlier, Eli, why would he do it? Pride. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The back and forth in the show is pretty clear. He was corrected. He even corrected himself with the same argument we corrected him with, but he wouldn't change his mind. So now we got a major situation of most of the population, most of the people I know are like this as well. They're not bad people. They're in this lie that cog-dis is so strong. They got entertaining two different opposing thoughts. Then they have to make a decision on the spot, which they can't. And that's the problem of what we saw with Matthew. His own description and explanation of how it works should have made him a flat earther. But he couldn't make the decision after saying the same things we say. He just couldn't do it. That's how deep the cog-dis is. So it's troublesome. It might take time. He might come around, but usually it does take time. Look at Neil and his brother. Neil argued it for a while and then came around.
What's his name?
Yeah, but they didn't have. Yeah, but hold on. The arguments back then weren't as strong as they are now.
Yeah,
but
we didn't have the elevation angle back then.
Yeah, but the same people dynamics exist.
What's his channel name?
How can some? What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, I know good people who believe the Earth is a globe, and they would argue with me. I could show them everything we just showed Matthew learns, and they would fall into the same category of Matthew learns with cog-dis. And I would just say, well, you just said it. It's impossible to work on the globe. Welcome to flat Earth, and just let that seed go for a while.
Anybody know what his...
Oh,
God, I'll try for the fifth time. Does anybody know what his channel name is so I can at least put a link to him? Hello? Anybody know what his channel name is?
I'll dig it up in a second.
I've tried to look it up.
I would say he let the most dangerous part out of the bag, right? He said, maybe I'm paraphrasing, but he said, it would make no sense to calculate R without assuming it's a globe first. Well, that's the most dangerous part, is that you have to assume it's a globe first when your observations don't tell you it's a globe. So why do you have to assume that? And then now you're passing that assumption off to these kids that you teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also the disclaimer of Eratosthenes. He assumed the Earth was a globe and sunlight came in parallel. And then he used the elevation angle of a stick and the sun actually moving in the sky, causing the shadows to change, and then said, I live on a globe. That assumption is a killer.
That's correct. And that's all he was saying. He's using that assumption. He's sticking to the assumption, because when you research it, that's what they tell you.
That's why I called it the most dangerous part.
And that's the begging the question part of it that Nathan was nailing him on, and we've nailed him 1,000 times to the same thing. And I don't know what it is about that fallacy in particular that people can't get over, because it's the one that unlocks you to your freedom. Like it's the one.
He said it. He said it. It makes no sense to calculate R without assuming it's a globe first. So the whole thing goes down the toilet without the assumption it's a globe first. That's the disclaimer right there. It's wrapped.
Right, but when
he did that, it has to be clipped. It has to be clipped. When he said that, whatever we're discussing, when he said that exactly as he said that, it has to be clipped. Oh my gosh.
That's what he let out with.
Yep.
That's the thing we've all missed over the years.
Or you get the one where he said he doesn't know the definition of calculation.
No way.
Yo, oh yeah. We to this morning we've heard the prime example and the epitome of assumption from asinine assholes. They were both assholes. And they knew they were, especially the first guy. He comes off like he's all, mannerable and yes, sir, Mr. Nathan, and I just come here to learn. I came to you because you're the one of all the knowledge. And then you could tell right there, I read it off the bat if you read the live chat. I knew it right off the bat because I recognize his voice. He's the most bullshitter there is in this whole globe community that comes into this Discord or comes into the chats and talks. And then all of a sudden you started noticing leaning towards being argumentative and dissonant and disagreeing. He didn't come to learn. He came to try to
he
stump.
snatched his own wig off. He snatched his own wig off too. He
Exactly, trying to stump y'all, and he made himself look stupid. And then Matthew made it worse.
So what? I'll take the layup. What were you gonna say, 10th? And then I'll give you guys Matthew's YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, yeah, just give the channel first.
Okay. So it's Matthew Weathers. And the title of I don't know if this is the title, but responding to flat Earth comments. Well, that's one of his videos, but the title of the channel is Matthew Weathers.
Got him. Brilliant.
This was the classic. I'm sorry.
That's it. I'm just going to put a link to him underneath the live stream. So I'm just going to grab it from a random video on his channel.
Sure.
Right. Sorry.
This is the classic. This was a classic show that teachers only teach what's put in front of them, and they don't even know what they're teaching. It goes back, it reminded me of my teacher telling me, I don't even believe it. I just have to teach it. This was the best show for that proof that I've been living with for a good part of my life, where I just discounted authority telling me stuff from school. Because my teacher was honest enough to say that back then when I was 14 and a half, 15 years old. But that first guy who came on, when he went into that math of being on the basketball and the size of a mite or whatever it was, and he put off the 0.00, I mean, this was classic. This guy had this argument for a few months. And then he doesn't even know what he does. He says, when you take how we live on this globe with the actual size and you and me as an actual person, we can't see curvature. We can't see it.
But that's a contradiction that a lot of things making. Like
well, no, hang on.
Curvature. Yeah.
Well, hang on. And then he says, but if we do an exact scale, so exact scale matching, everything matching, it looks flat. Well, yeah, if it's an exact scale, then it's going to be flat on the original. I mean, it's like, what is this guy talking about?
Comical.
To know that Matthew learns,
the truth and he doubled down.
And what disconcerts me is to know that Matthew Learns is a self-proclaimed, declared teacher is the reason why you must homeschool your children in some manner, even if you must have them go to school because you have to, make ends meet, that you reprogram every day when they come home with that bullshit. Because you have people like Matthew who are either that dumb or that dishonest, unlike John, 10th man's teacher, who said, hey, look, I got to teach it. I know it ain't true. But Matthew either believes it and teaches it, or he's dumb. But he shouldn't be teaching. Nobody like that should be teaching.
My wife and I had to work extra hard to afford $600 to $800 a month more. It could have been more. I can't remember. It got higher and higher. We homeschooled. And I thank my teacher for telling me that when I was younger, because there's no way I'm going to put my kids through that.
That's the type of teachers they do want.
I don't know.
Nathan still here?
No, I think I still have a high degree of respect for teachers and educators in general. Right? I don't want this to disseminate into throwing the baby out with the bathwater, like with science. It's just totally unreasonable. You know, a lot of the scientific exploration's done in universities, isn't it? Well, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a very specific niche group of people, specific to this category in this pond, that are also teachers that I have a high level of disdain for. But just them.
That's not what I'm saying. I told you the story before. I know 2 teachers who gave up 6-figure income each and are settling for less because they were asked to teach wokeism. It's not even science. And they left that profession because their conscience wouldn't let them. I'm talking about knowing that your position, you're teaching children, and knowing what you're teaching them is wrong, but you stay in the position for a paycheck. If the teachers would obey their conscience, the education system would have to change because most of them would quit.
Anyway, good to have a high passion debate.
Did you think that he was going to lead me astray when he said experiment and you heard me interrupt? You were quick all over that, Nathan.
I knew what I was doing, and he knew what he was doing when he did that.
Do you think that I didn't know what he was doing when he did that?
Well, you took the bait.
No, I didn't.
You nibbled it. You had a little sniff.
I had a little sniff, but I wasn't off the trail.
To be fair, when you interrupted and me saying, no, I'm not going to let you take that bait, it's enough of an acknowledgement in the live show for anybody with half a brain to go, oh, right, okay, they're objecting to that, but it's going to stay on these rails.
Yeah, you know me better than that.
It's like you're baying wolves, the lot of you. You smell blood, all of you.
Yeah, but when he said experiment, and when I interrupted and you interrupted me, I was snickering to myself. Do you think that low of me that I would take that full bait like that and not stay
Hold on.
in hand?
He was fly fishing with it.
We should have addressed that. Wait, you should have addressed that point, though. We should have brought him into science.
No, that's what he wanted. He wanted to get off the... He's a mathematician. Why am I going to debate science with him?
Yeah. Remember when he first came in, he said, if something is rotating, then it must have a radius measured and it's calculated, but it's never been directly measured. Well, how do you know? Well, it's based on an assumption. It's like, what?
Well, at least he came in conceding that we had to actually teach him the difference between tangential speed and angular velocity. So that was a good thing.
That's an indictment. That's an indictment all on its own. He's a mathematician, and he doesn't know the difference between tangential speed and angular velocity? Oh, my God.
That was Adam.
So we had a mariner and a mathematician come in today. Well done.
That was more props to Adam. So when Adam poured scorn on that example in the way he did in that live show, I remember it distinctly. And, you know, you can hear the disdain from another mathematician in a tone that is only heard at a frequency that other mathematicians hear. And that frequency was very much conveyed by Adam at the time.
Yeah. It was, what was noticeable on that, though, he apologised for the misrepresentation, but he didn't concede the implication.
Yes.
Which proves he can recant.
Yeah, but he only recanted the fact that he misrepresented it. Yeah. He didn't recant the fact that it destroyed the point he was trying to make. Because the reason he had to misrepresent it was to make out that it was insignificant. And he used the clock and didn't he? So he considered that he'd done it incorrect, but didn't therefore. And that will be interesting if he does respond, if he does therefore say, oh, well, that destroyed the whole point I meant, because it's actually the reverse.
I don't know. It could also be conceded because I threatened to put him on a catapult and launch him off at 1,000 miles an hour. That could also be the reason.
Probably more likely then, yeah.
And then Nathan said, why would you assume it? And he said, celestial navigation. Nathan puckered up and said, oh, what do you know about celestial navigation? I don't know anything.
I was the first one on that.
We all sat up in our chairs and went, come on.
I was already sat up.
Yeah, right. But he says, well, I don't know anything about it. Well, why'd you bring it up?
There's a certain psychology that tells them that if they attack the thing that we have as a strong proof head on, or even sometimes use it as a weapon, that they'll somehow do well with it. It's like, no.
He tried to backdoor it in, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it. Backdoor it in. That's the one.
But sometimes they have lists, right? They have lists of things they just name. They'll just say things like, oh, sunsets, stars, celestial navigation, GPS. Like they just got a list of things that they think just reading off the list proves globe. Kind of silly.
I've been telling myself to keep my shit together for the next baller that comes in, and like almost practicing having a bit of zen. And then sod's law, it's a bloody teacher that comes in after a small stint of no one coming in. So, you know, there's a 10th man saying, look, just try and keep it PG, try and keep your temper under control, all this sort of stuff. Who comes in next? Bloody teacher. Sod's law.
I hope you didn't mind that I interrupted that idiot Robozoid with his train wreck contradictions to let you know Matthew was in our midst.
Definitely. Didn't want to go around in robo circles forever. I mean, yeah, reasonable that someone would come on, and again, he just picked the wrong day. If he'd have come in yesterday, he'd have got endless props for us. Oh, well, at least he came in. Good for him. At least he had a try.
No. We'd already started groaning, Nathan, at his responses. It was like, oh, God, really?
Well, the best part was the next part, because I'm going off my notes. Nathan goes, why would you assume the Earth's a sphere then? He goes, experts.
Do you think experts is like an exclamation for anything?
Say again, is it something or other? Duncan?
He just thinks experts are an exclamation for everything. That's like in the movie Idiocracy when they replace water with Brandau, and they're like, well, why the crop's growing? I'm like, well, it's got electrolytes. That's what the experts say. And they're like, okay, well, what are electrolytes? It's what's in Brandau.
That's what it sounds like, though.
Yeah, but the plants need electrolytes. Why? Because the experts say it needs electrolytes. I see. But if we didn't say that they needed them, would we still need them? Well, you can't say you need them unless you assume that you need them.
The way we're heading, that show's a documentary.
Idiocracy is a documentary now in 2023. We are in 2023, aren't we? Yes, we are. Yeah, I came to that conclusion a long time ago. Now, I don't think I'm going to be pissing off a single member of my audience. The world's stupid. Yeah, it's dumb. That's right. When people when I first came to the alternative truth realm, right, everyone was describing normies, NPCs as sheep, right? And at the time I was like, that's so unreasonable. The more time goes by, they're all like, yep, that's pretty accurate. Most people are like that. They will go along to get along. And, you know, sometimes we come up with our justifications for why the normie public just go along to get along. It's just, that's the world we live in, and the people who control the world know it.
Well, the system is set up for that.
Hold on, when they come in saying Earth's too biggie, then we're in idiocracy.
Could you believe it? When Robozoid started doing that, his first was he couldn't see Canada, and then he immediately went to, if you were a, what did he call it? Not an ant, but what was the term?
Dust mite.
A dust mite. I'm sitting there. Where is this guy? Is he going to snatch his own wig off for no apparent reason, unsolicited? Yes, he is.
But if he's doing it to scale, it would have to match.
The problem is they've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson do it, and the beauty of a really good magic trick, especially one that Neil deGrasse Tyson pulls, is you don't realise that it's a magic trick at all if it's really well done. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson, not with all of his examples, most of them, as we're now finding out, right, It's like he's going through his junk box repertoire of magic tricks, and a lot of them are garbage, right? But in that box, he has got some truly spectacular, really beautifully constructed magic tricks. Now, magic for me is just wordsmithery, or whatever you want to call it. Just his use of words. Well, when he does that slapping of the beach ball, that stuff is flat. You can't see the curve of the Earth from the ISS 2 millimeters above this beach ball. That stuff is flat. Slap, slap, slap. Right? That has been orchestrated, constructed, and executed in front of a camera to such a well-orchestrated degree that the magic trick works perfectly. But any Joe Normie that tries to pull that off, especially when they've literally 2 minutes earlier claimed, he'll get in the way of Canada, you're not going to pull off that magic trick. But because Tyson does it so well, he makes it seem easy. So you'll hear that and go, oh yeah, I'll remember that. But then when you come up against us and try and use it, it's pitiful because it's not going to be employed in the way that Tyson's employed it. But you layman idiots are going to think I can use that, and they can't.
It's
especially when they get themselves. Sorry, Adam. Go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, it's a spell from Tyson. Yeah. Now you can't interrupt a spell. You pause the video. It doesn't matter. You can't challenge it. And he takes you on a story. It's there, and they obviously believe it. They don't challenge it. They think, I can just repeat that. I can repeat that and get that. That made sense to me. I understand it. I can argue that. But come here and the instant contradiction that Tyson does glaze over so beautifully.
Exactly.
Well, it's a beautiful spell, right? To get somebody, somebody who wants to say, the general argument is, quote, this lake is a hill, and that same person will say, well, there's no lake on it. There's no hill on the lake. Well, yeah, that's the point. But you're here telling us that the lake is a hill. You don't get that contradiction.
Chocolate, you said it best the other day. They want us to deny our senses. So this guy's a teacher. He has a certain level of authority over children. His authority is the Neil deGrasse Tysons and all the globe, rhetoric. So he just appeals to authority. Well, the experts say so. And now he at a lower level is just recanting what he was told. It's like, when do you ever stop to test authority to see if what they're telling you is right or wrong? When is this guy ever going to do that?
Well, that's the point, right? You don't have to do that if the warm and comfy blanket of consensus comforts you. Then you don't have to do that, right? You just believe. Like I've spoken about Matthew before. Like, maybe passive aggressive slightly, but I mean, he's a nice, quote unquote, nice guy, right? Who just believes, right? He just believes his heliocentric model, and he just chooses to do that. He was quite comfortable saying that it's an assumption, right? Well, most Globers won't say that as comfortably as he did, right? You gotta be real comfortable in your warm blanket of consensus.
But he's not only like a good. He has a channel. He's making videos, Chocolate. Yeah. He's plus professor. He exposed himself. He wants to speak about globe earth in public, and he's saying that he's professor. He could be anonymous and to speak about that.
To be one of those guys, you have to be even more comfortable with it than just a regular normie, right? Because you're out there touting this stuff. And then if you want to simultaneously put yourself in this arena where you have to actually argue it, well, you better be damn sure you're comfortable saying, yeah, we don't have a direct measurement to R. We don't got that. It's an assumption. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
The problem,
you know what I mean?
The problem is he's peddling pseudoscience and pseudo-mathematics, and yet he's a mathematician, and his own mathematics goes against the pseudo-mathematics, and he still was unable to correct himself.
I think because it's devastating to them. I think he really gets it, but it's so devastating, and pride gets in the way, and he's a school teacher, and he's going to continue to teach the nonsense. Yeah, I was wrong for even saying you were too hard on him. Hammering them suckers every time.
The real funny part was I was trying to think of all the panel members as Matthew started to talk, because I was all up in my mic listening to every single syllable. And I was thinking, okay, who else is doing? I know Adam's close to that mic getting ready.
Plus, we can't.
That's what I was thinking. It's cracking me up.
Yeah, and you're desperate to, but when you've got something like that, you've just got to sit and let Nathan have it, and then hope he throws us a bone at some point, because that needed him keeping on point, just like with the first guy. And if we all come in, we always sometimes try and make up our own point a bit. But when you've got somebody like that, you've just got to let him get.
Well, we did for the most part. We did. Yeah. I was disciplined, and I did for the most part.
Well, you got me on the mic.
Can you not phrase it if Nathan throws us a bone?
Yeah,
once
Nathan broke his legs, he can't call away, and he's got a bit bored of playing with him. You even go, go on then, Tenth. Yeah, you can have a go.
Yeah.
The wolf pups are hungry.
The QE, I have the kind of mic, it says Yeti, set, go. I was up in front of it, yes.
Yeah, but I figured everyone was.
But does anybody does anybody saw what that first guy? Does anybody saw what that first guy wrote on the voice text? That first guy, Bob.
Yeah, go on. Let's have it.
Nathan, his goal life now is to remove you from the YouTube.
Excellent rebuttal.
That's his goal in life. Another one that wants a hashtag in flat earth debate. What is he on? Bob Nodell's team? None of his pride.
I like that from the comments. I love it. I get it all the time. So the ballers come on the show and say things like, e-beg more, it suits you. My response, Nathan, : flat earth is required to give you a globe. Baller, : you are poor. That's the kind of response that we get.
Sir Nathan, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, at the end of that, I'm going to get him off YouTube.
Yes, sir. Nathan Oakley, sir.
Whatever.
If he removes you, Nathan, from the YouTube, then water will start to curve.
Exactly.
Because then it will not be anymore you. Then it will not be anymore you saying that water is level. Nathan is done, and it's finished. We are done.
He's a Donovan fan, man. First there's a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is Juanita.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh dear.
That was bad.
I was Donovan.
I thought you would go with "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
Negative.
Ain't no valley low enough.
Don't you see the analogy? First there is a hill, then there is no hill, then there is a hill.
No, I was thinking, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough to keep my calculations away from you.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's appropriate, but not directly analogous.
Well, it could peak every now and then.
Yeah, Nathan, I think when you say hill, it kind of throws them, and I don't know. Is there another way we can state that?
Why?
Drop over distance.
What's wrong with it being what it is? It's a hill in the way.
Well, because they're not thinking watery hill. They're thinking
no, hill. That's brilliant. The guy said there's no hills in the ocean. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but you're talking about the crest of the hill. They're thinking hill, like they have to go up it first.
Well, yeah, that's the viewpoint. That's exactly what they're claiming. So, unless they're going to claim the higher they go up, the more they lean forward, and they're more than welcome to claim that.
But Q is correct. When when Nathan say hill, we all thinking it's a drop over distance, but he's thinking that he needs to go up. That's for sure.
I like hill
They have
because
to
of that.
describe it as
Actually,
a hill
QE.
to turn it into a Sagitta so that they can halve the impact of the supposed curvature.
There's no hill in the lake.
Exactly. They don't like it when I call it a hill getting in the way one bit, do they? But you're saying, oh, it throws them off.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
Well, there is a song, "The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Level."
What he's saying is, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to say that lake is what I'm really trying to say is that there is no hill in the lake. I'm saying the lake is a hill. Thanks. That's batshit crazy insane, man. I'm sorry, buddy.
Better say something. He's going to close out.
Well, the
I'm not,
water,
I'm
the
making a
water's,
thumbnail. I've got Matthew.
the water's equidistant to the center. It would have to be a hill.
It is a hill. That's what they're claiming. A hill getting in the way. You don't have to like it. Anyway, I've got him on the top of Mount Everest, waving his hand. What was the show number? 1846.
1846. I like the juxtaposition with the theater major versus a university math professor. And why is the theater major dragging you around by your mathematical short hair? How's that happening?
Yeah.
Very good. Well
Shouldn't
done.
take 6 times for him to concede that you're not going to get 90 degrees from something that's got a curve.
But that was after he already established that the baseline you were talking about was flat.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I think he was a bit confused because I was going to jump in at a point where he was trying to make the angle a point. Did you guys get that from him? Yeah. He didn't understand that the angle was between two straight lines. He was going to a point. So that 90 degrees was a point. Go ahead.
Like a tangency at one point meeting the surface?
Yeah, there was no comparison between the zenith and the baseline, that the angle was just arrived at via a point. And I was like, what the hell? But I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Nathan was all over it.
That's good.
I'm glad you chimed in too.
So many sound bites. Wonderful.
You
wonderful.
couldn't have a better show since the Ballers have been on strike for this guy to be the first one fully on since the strike. The admissions were incredible.
Where did they pop up from anyway? Just out of nowhere, or
No,
where
it was
did he
in chat.
pop up from?
He was in chat. QE called him out.
all right, so they were in chat. Okay.
Yeah, he's been here before. I told Nathan that one Thursday he was in here. I seen him in here during. I always look over and see who's in Discord, but he was in it. And then I seen him, and then that Robo started to talk, and I'm sitting there. Oh God, please, that Matthew's going to get bored and leave, right? So I was trying to find a way in to let everyone know that Matthew was in there.
Well, I told him he was on 24/7, and I told him that Matthew made a video about him and that analyzed all his video, and he said in the first moment that was awkward. They didn't call me, and then we said you can go there. Then we said you can go there. It's every day at 2:00. What they're saying, you can go there. And I told that he will not, and he was not. You could not see him for 1 week, let's say. And now it was great. Like he's coming today. Like I was like surprised. Oh, he's here.
I put the thumbnail in.
It's a good thing that QE was there.
One sec. I put the thumbnail in whatever it's called, War Room. If you want to check it out. Go ahead.
Man, Richard G was like, "Get him, QE."
Yeah, QE got a few jabs
nice.
in as well. Got to call him a clown a few times.
You got him on Everest.
Is he jumping off Mount Everest?
Nah, just climbing it.
Oh, he's climbing. Okay, I see it.
I got to admit, it was a good job you were here, because you could distinguish it where I probably couldn't have, or probably wouldn't have, if you hadn't have been here. Which is to say that you had the physical interaction with your eyeball versus the mountain. Well, qualifying it in that way was what took it to the conclusory point. So kudos to you, because that's what it required and that's what it got from you.
You're welcome.
He still didn't get it though, did he? That's why.
That
was the only time I got excited, when I thought he doesn't understand this. Let me explain. And how bad that makes your Mount Everest analogy. Where is your mountain you're looking at for your R value, son? You know, he didn't realise. I don't think he's come in with thinking that's a smart answer, but not realising, as Chocolate says, he's just totally snatched his own wig off with it. Both in the analogy and demonstrating he didn't know his arse from his elbow. What even measurement and calculation is.
I've just gone to look at his channel, right?
Calculations are.
on his channel, the vast majority of his videos are like his Skype calls with his students. Those are what he publishes.
Hi. That was crazy when I asked him if your students were to ask you what the difference between a measurement and a calculation is. It was I don't know what those words are. I almost just jumped out of my car. Like, what? What are you talking? What? Oh man!
I'd just give him an analogy.
Too good at that.
I want to thank all my fans. I want to thank my mom for having me. As soon as he brought up that Mount Everest, I was like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna love this. How can I get in there?" But he mentioned it again, right? So that I had to bow my way in there. I'm sorry.
Well, it made the thumbnail, so what more can I say?
You want to have another good time, and it's another analogous situation. You ask a mathematician what calculations are. Go ahead and ask Baltards what curvature is, and get your popcorn out. They have no idea what it is. None. In 7 years, well, 8 for some people, but they don't know what it is.
Wait, you can't perceive it. There's no hills or water. Yeah, they haven't got a clue. Oh, I can't wait to trim out a load of little bits from that live show.
I think you're going to be busy this evening.
Well, I probably won't be this evening. Got stuff to do straight after the show.
Well, you know what I mean?
You'll have plenty of time to do that.
No, there's quite a few cracking admissions. Even from the first guy, just the first contradiction he couldn't get past. They were nice and Dumbo. And just a good example of just his first two statements were contradictory, and he couldn't go past them. And you didn't let him. That was good.
I can see if I can dig out a couple now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Hey, Adam. Get stuff.
I did. I had a huge breakfast this morning. It's Thursdays. Breakfast Club.
Hey, Seth, how you
Hold
doing,
on.
Seth?
Wait a second.
I watched that movie.
Hold on. Let me say something to Adam. That was a very good thing you did when you came in and settled everybody down and treated that man with respect.
Yeah, well done.
Well done, emissary.
I tried to do it. I got rumpused. Anyway, do you want to hear a little bit?
Please answer his question.
The reason you're being interrupted, I'm really sorry, Matthew. Hold on 1 second. The reason you're interrupted is because it seems you've dodged my question.
I'm saying, I'm sorry. I was explaining it too much. But basically,
do you want me to ask the question
yes,
again?
you have to have.
Would you like
you have to have the radiation in order to do those. Go ahead.
So the radius that you would assert for the rotational value, could you tell us where that's measured for an Earth that's assumed to be spherical? Where's the radius measured?
I would say it's never been directly measured. I would say instead it's calculated.
Sorry, let me get this straight. The sphere Earth radius has never been measured, Matthew.
I said it never been directly measured. Like nobody's slapped a ruler on it and like measured. Oh, here's
There's no other way than to measure something than to directly measure it, Matthew.
Right, and so that's why I say that instead we do calculations and calculate it.
So Nathan asked you,
same with the height.
Was it directly measured? And you said no. So let's move on from there. Nathan, please.
So what? There you go.
But then he says, I don't know the difference between those two words I just used.
And that was like a whole half hour later. So, okay, but he
wasn't measured. He calculated it.
Well, that was a good win for us. That's what we've been saying since the beginning, right?
See, but it's quite weird for him to say later on that he doesn't know the difference between these things when we just heard him distinguish the difference, right? He just told us there is no direct measurement. So instead, I just calculate. So you know that a measurement is not a calculation at the very least.
Hey, Chocolate, when you said, isn't that something? Sorry, Adam.
Just to stay on that point, that's when I asked him what do you use to calculate, wasn't it?
Yep. But then when Chocolate said, isn't that something that should make you, what'd you say, Chocolate? Something to make it like open his eyes up a little bit that is not even measured? It's calculated?
Yeah, so I don't remember the exact word I used, but so doesn't that make you feel weird that you're teaching kids this and there's no direct measurement of the radius?
When I asked you what would lead you to the assumption that Earth is a sphere, devastating though that concession is, you've said that celestial navigation was on the list after saying sunsets. That was what I heard, right?
That's right.
So celestial navigation. So celestial navigation, then. Tell us how that would lead you to assume Earth is a sphere, please.
I trust the experts in celestial navigation.
That's an appeal to.
I love this. I love how you recall. You can just rewind and catch them in their own words. Like, it's better than surveillance. It's just like
I trust the experts. What was it that we've heard many times? That what's wrong with the flat earthers? They don't have trust in our experts. Interesting.
They certainly do.
Hey, but let's give them a round of applause for having the gall to enter the octagon and get their
but you know the reason is because they have such a low view of us. In their mind, it's going to be easy peasy. And when they get here, then they have to admit they don't know the difference between two words they just used to prove something. It wasn't so easy peasy after all.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's almost like they see a pretty girl and they get, I'm gonna ask her for a number, and they get up there and they're like,
No, it's worse than that. It's like it's worse than that. It's like some guy who's not even in shape sees Bruce Lee and says, I could take him on.
Yeah, that's a better one. Yeah, man. Here comes Bruce Lee in the form of Nathan Oakley, kicking away.
Yep, pokes him in his chest. Hey, you. Next thing they know, it's Thursday, and they woke up dead.
With any reasonable, exceptional, justifiable reason to do so when it's an extraordinary claim.
Yeah, like I said before, you can't measure R unless you assume that the Earth is a globe. So you're not gonna assume R or measure R or calculate R without that assumption first.
So if we don't assume it, and you've given no reasonable reason to do so.
Yeah, if you don't assume that the Earth is a sphere, then trying to calculate R is sort of nonsensical, of course.
I would.
Yep.
That is such arrogant ignorance. It's someone like,
so how is he not a flat earther? Like,
no, that's just a smart ass rebuttal. Listen to what he said there.
He sounds like
That's a smart ass rebuttal. And he's correct in what he says. If you don't assume it's a ball, then trying to calculate it would be nonsensical. Because he's saying, well, I didn't think it was a ball. I wouldn't be trying to calculate it. It's just been a smart ass there. There's no.
He's basically regurgitating what he's already heard us say many a times, and he's just saying it, but he's saying it in his mindset that he's saying something to confirm his claim. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's psychotic.
He's taking L's, man. He's taking mad L's.
It's what we taught. Eratosthenes taught it.
What?
He tells you in black and white. You got to presume it.
The mad L's are 90 degrees, by the way.
What the hell's a mad L?
Loss. Taking an L is taking a loss.
Oh, okay.
Matthew admitted how he will admit that Earth is not a globe. He said that it should to be on the news, and all NASA need to admit, and then he will believe.
What I found interesting, this is a supposed intellectual, and again, how quickly, for his proof of a ball, he resorted to a magic stick in the ground. It was very, very rapid as his only fallback to go to a magic stick that gave a shadow to tell him what the shape of the surface was. Even if he's been preparing, that's very little content for him to fall back on.
You mean like a sundial?
Well, I didn't know if Nathan was going to get into that with Eratosthenes, whether it was going to bad moon shadow him, but how quickly he actually went to that position, how little content he's got to support it, that we went to sticks in the ground. And that was part of his analogy, that he wasn't measuring anything, was he? The numbers he was putting to calculate with weren't measuring the thing he was claiming he was going to do a calculation to demonstrate the size. He was measuring a shadow, not measuring the thing, unlike his Mount Everest analogy, where we were measuring the angular size of it on a flat plane with a right angle triangle to do that. But that's where he could then calculate from his measurement. He didn't recognize that the only thing he was measuring had nothing to do with the subject matter he was going to calculate for.
Well, he and Matthew were both kamikaze warriors. They just said, we're going to commit suicide in the attempt to destroy the enemy, but the enemy, we missed the target and we ran into a big boulder, and they just killed themselves on live stream.
Classic ball jitsu, wasn't it? Come in with his topic, celestial navigation, and get battered around the head with his own topic.
So the movie Torah could be renamed Curve, and then they die?
Well, that's why this rapper I know put a line in his song that says, like, what the fuck, bro? It seems profound. 2,000 years, y'all still sight sticks in the ground.
Interesting creature.
2,000 years, bro.
There's a old sitcom, The Shadow Knows.
Bars.
Yo, Chocolate, Checkmaster B. You were talking about the magic stick, right, from Aristophanes, and then I thought, magic stick of total power?
You want to hear a bit more?
The power pole.
Guys want another little
go ahead,
excerpt?
Nathan.
90 degrees, and you're measuring it. So 90 degrees to your position, that's flat, isn't it, Matthew? I know this is painful.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not? How could it be? Third time's a charm. How can it be 90 degrees if it's not flat, Matthew? Are you a mathematician, Matthew?
I am a mathematician.
I study performing arts. How is it that I'm dragging you around third attempt to ask you how something with 90 degrees cannot be flat, and this is the third time? Are you a university mathematician? Because a drama student has currently got you by your short hairs. Third time, how can it not be flat if it's 90 degrees to the zenith ground position, Matthew?
It can't.
So it's definitely flat then, if it can't be.
At that point.
Sorry, you seem to be stuttering. Just try and be clear like you were talking to your students. It is.
I would ask you the same about being clear.
Sorry, it's flat, Matthew, between your position and that 90 degree to the zenith. Correct?
I'm trying my hardest to picture what you have in your mind and what you're saying.
A triangle. It's a triangle, my friend. A triangle. Do you know what a triangle is? Try and picture that.
Yes.
Do you know what a 90-degree triangle is, Matthew?
Yes, I'm picturing.
Imagine the flat bit that meets the 90. Imagine the straight line going up being the zenith, and then the 90-degree being the baseline that meets it along the ground to your position. Do you know about that triangle? This isn't really that complicated, Matthew. Do you understand that if you've got a zenith that's plumb to the ground, that's the ground position, and it's 90 degrees to the baseline ipso facto is flat? Fifth attempt with a university-grade mathematician being dragged around by his short hairs by a drama student.
Okay, so yes, 46.
Sorry, do you want to say that louder? Sorry, yes, it is a flat baseline that we will be navigating.
Yes, it is a flat base.
Earth is flat then, Matthew. Then the Earth is flat.
Okay, so I'm picturing what I posted in.
Sorry,
in the chat.
You just need to concede like the last guy. The baseline we will be travelling along and are navigating is functionally and mathematically flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh yeah, sure.
So Earth, that would be the Earth. That would be the Earth that we will be navigating is flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, we're navigating on the Earth and functionally it's flat, and we navigate along a flat map, of course.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Matthew. There you go. That's going to get trimmed out and reposted.
I have a question. When's the funeral?
Fucking classic.
When's the funeral? We have to go to his funeral. You should have a virtual funeral, like a little skit.
He took so many L's.
You could make a short clip that could fit right next to the one of McToon explaining how you need to measure it on a flat Earth, and this would fit right next to that.
Yeah, that's a good one, Arwen. Did you get that first part, QE? That's where he says that point. So he's talking about that tangent point that you were saying.
Yes.
So diverging zeniths.
Don't you need a sphere to have a tangent?
No, not a tangent point. He was treating it as a point, the 90 degrees at a point, not the tangents. Well, before he said tangent, he was treating it as a point. It's so stupid. It's hard to put it into words. How are you getting 90 degrees from a point?
True.
It's moronic. So that's where he was going down. That's where I tried to get in there, but I let her budge.
Am I missing something, or did I miss something?
We get the point.
I get the point, but was it something that was left unaddressed? I didn't feel so.
Yeah, it was too stupid for you to catch it.
Tangent point.
No, it wasn't a tangent point. I just said
90-degree point.
I just got back. Relax.
He was treating that whenever you keep on saying, just relax. Whenever Nathan was kept on saying 90 degrees, he wasn't leaning towards the vertex. He was treating the angle as a point. Or he was, how can I, it's really stupid. It's
I know what you're saying. You're saying
I get it.
He's treating 90 as a straight line with no perpendicular.
I do understand it. And I understand that you're saying it's so moronic to reduce the vertex to not even be the two straight lines that meet it at a point. It's just the point. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes, that's what he. Yes,
I got it the first time. If everyone else would shut up, but I'm saying when you're at the stage where he's going, so got a straight line coming down and a line with 90 degrees. I can't imagine what you're talking about. And I say, a triangle, Matthew. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point, is it not just absolutely humiliating for him as a mathematician? Am I not wrong?
Yes. Yes.
Wings and triangle too. I just started laughing so hard.
His
That's how a
degree or
mathematician
whatever.
got on over here. How do the non-mathematicians get on?
It's not that it's going to have any... Right, let's just get this clear, right? And I'm sure QE will back me up, right? I am almost 100% certain that Matthew Weathers or Learns, or whatever his name is actually a very competent mathematician. I'd stake my reputation on it, that he's good at maths, that he could easily go toe-to-toe with Adam and talk all day and bore the pants off everybody with maths, right? No problem. That is not what I am saying. The problem is that when you try and incorporate a reasonable man with a good understanding of mathematics into a cognitive dissonance-laden religious belief, there's going to be problems, right? And those are the problems that we're seeing.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. It's always with their profession attached to a fairy tale belief or paradigm that causes the problems.
It's like a dentist believing in the tooth fairy.
Well, where does the geometric horizon exist? Only exist?
Have you never heard of a point angle?
Anyone?
In the maths.
Sorry, Chocolate. In the maths. Only in the maths.
Huh.
What did Soundly call the geometric horizon?
Word soup.
I tell you where the whole drama thing came from, QE. That was from you as well. I should give you credit at this point, right? So at a point when you were educating me in terms of the various different...
Point?
Go on, whoever that was. No. When you were educating me, you said at the end, you said, at this point, Nathan, I would put you up against any PhD in any field in this subject, debating about the nature of Earth, and expect you to win. And you explained why. And after I heard it, I was empowered. I was like, okay, right, I'll put that to the test when it comes up. And based on my not devout faith, but my steadfast knowledge and understanding, I know that I can win. So when I'm saying, right, Matthew, it's because I know I'm right. Now, in other words, there came a point where, because of the education I received from Quantum Eraser, it meant that I could empower an audience by saying, I'm a drama student. Yeah? And yet here I am with this guy by his short hairs with maths. Something I am self-confessed in being absolutely useless at. So what does that tell the audience? It should empower them like it empowered me, QE. So that's why I did it. I just wanted to give you props because that's the reason.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. That's the exact point. Thanks for elucidating it.
But yeah, with a good understanding of basics in this subject, I'd expect anybody with any education level to be able to pull a PhD apart because they're laden with cognitive dissonance and contradictions. You're armed with flat Earth elevation angle measurements. That's all you need. You can whip anybody around if you've got a good understanding of that. Just understand that Earth's measured flat and you'll win, because it is. That's pretty concise.
Yeah. And it's really not that difficult because I'm not no A+ student in my lifetime, but I did get A's. But business math was usually my strength, assets and liabilities. But however, you know what a triangle looks like. You know what a triangle tool looks like. You've drawn a triangle. You've drawn an angle. You see that they have straight lines. I mean, my children understand it. And they're only 7 and 9. So it has nothing to do with the complexity of it. It has to do with the dissonance. Like you said, the belief. They have to stick to the belief. They have to. If they don't, they feel that their brain will pop or something. I don't know. It's psychotic. It's a psychosis. It really is a psychosis.
What was I'm in Master D right now. I'm reading a message from John Shelton. Would you put that up on screen and let's go through this?
Yeah.
It's John Shelton. It's going to give it at my time, 10:27. Did you find the one that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, feel free.
I can't stick around when ballers come around. We shouldn't call them liars, as they do believe the fallacious justifications they give. They laugh because they can't process the information, and when we attack them, we create... Hold on, my screen went blank. When we attack them, we create our own enemies. By the way, QE's Hanlon's razor is a false dichotomy. That's not QE's. I didn't make that up. That's Hanlon's razor. I digress. By the way, QE's Hanlon's razor is a false dichotomy, as stupidity and malice are not the only options. Ignorant people aren't capable of learning, but stupid people are setting a distinction. Therefore, Matthew isn't a liar or stupid, and everyone attacking him is not being fair. End of message.
Okay.
Will you tell that guy to go rub Matthew's back, go rub his back, and make sure he feels okay, and coddle him? Matter of fact, spoon him. Go spoon him right now.
Holy shit. Did somebody call him a liar during... Maybe I missed that.
I said he was lying to the little kiddies.
Oh, okay.
Why is John not being called a terrorist sympathizer?
We're not there yet, Neil. We're evaluating the statements here. Just relax.
Okay, I'm relaxed.
All right. So
I can see John's point in that writing. It's when you're fooled, you don't think you're lying. It's only when you wake up that you say, "Oh my gosh, I was lying all that time, but I didn't know I was lying all that time." John's coming at it from that point of view.
You didn't know that you were lying all that time? Lying's an intention to deceive.
But that's not what they think they're doing. They're just passing on the narrative that they grew up with, and they don't think they're lying. Once they wake up.
No. Not once they're here. They can't use that excuse. No.
I didn't say once they were here. I said once they wake up and realize the positions they are telling people are based on lies, then they are also lying. What John is saying is Matthew's not at that point yet where he realizes he's lying.
I disagree. Matthew's a mathematician. Matthews went through Nathan FED a couple of times. He's even had the nerve to make his own video, hearing other points of views from other well-known and very knowledgeable flat earth proponents. So he has crossed the roads where he thought the direction to such a place was this way, never got there. Then he ran into somebody like y'all that told him, nope, you need to go that way. For him to lie to other people and keep telling them to go the wrong way, he's a liar. And I'll say that. My name is Original D. Rhodes, and I sponsor and endorse this message.
You just described a person, hopefully, in the process of waking up. When he said point, a straight line at a point, that's not 90 degree. He was trying to say, I don't know what you have in your mind, Nathan. I can't see, the picture. So he's thinking of a globe with diverging zeniths with one vertical line. He's not even in the same ballpark of a 90 degree. So in his mind, this is how he's confused, but he believes it, and he'll fight for it until he wakes up.
So wait a second. So I got you. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying there, 10th. I got it. So when we break it, hold on. Who's trying to interrupt? Shut the fuck up. How about that? For goodness sakes. So he's saying instead of a false dichotomy with Hanlon's razor, there's three choices. So there's stupidity, malice, and ignorance. Does everyone get that? Is that a fair statement? Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. I believe so, yes.
Huh. So, let me think about that. Because stupidity and ignorance. So can we is there a distinction between stupidity and ignorance? Ignorance is the lack of knowledge. Stupidity is incoherent thought.
So why are we defining the difference between these two? It's the difference between somebody who's a liar, which is the attribution of malice aforethought in their statements, and the other is just being dumb. You know, I mean, you have to define that, do you?
No, that there's so there's lying, stupidity, and ignorance is what John's saying.
No, it's just stupidity, and that is incorporating ignorance. Ignorance and stupidity are one and the same thing in this example because you're comparing it to somebody who's malicious in their intentions. Now, as far as I am concerned, if you can comprehend to the point that Matthew did, that you're measuring the ground flat, but you're simultaneously saying something completely different, and every justification you give for your viewpoint, which is religious in nature, being taught, is that, well, I've got an assumption. You know, well, at that point, you know, that can, as far as I can ascertain, only be deceitful because you're acknowledging the reasonings and whys and wherefores behind something that is not reasonable to assert as fact. And they acknowledge it. The mathematicians tend to be a little bit more honest in that regard. Charles was almost like that until he started denying R. That made him an outright liar. To, you know, me personally, I mean, not just lying generally, but lying to my face and his audience in that regard. This is no different as far as I'm concerned.
I got you. You're making a conclusion based off the statements to this situation. I'm pulling it out of this situation, and I'm asking you, we have three choices here. Malice, which is a liar. So let's disregard. We already got that choice. That's off to the side. We all know what lying is. So you're saying stupidity and ignorance is more or less the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not involuntary,
in a common
programmed.
Because ignorance is a lack of information, right?
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, right. So I would say the difference between being ignorant and stupid, right? If you're ignorant, you lack the knowledge. If you're stupid, I don't think you can accept the knowledge even if given.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think there is a distinction. We're just talking. Listen, we're just brainstorming here. There seems to be, John might be right, that there could be a difference between stupidity and ignorance.
Now, Chewy, I got a question for you. Can someone that is considered a fool be stupid and ignorant?
So let me get it straight.
I don't know. I don't want to get into other analogies. Just we need to
no, because that's what I call.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm just trying to clarify what you're saying because it's humorous, right? So you're saying, right, the difference when you qualify stupidity over ignorance is stupidity would be to ignore the information offered.
No. Ignore the information. Ignore.
No, you're not ignoring any information. No. Stupidity gives the connotation that you have the information, but your basic reasoning skills can't connect anything. You're incoherent. Whereas ignorant people, you just don't have any of the information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have the information, but you just can't make any common sense of it.
But
being ignorant, you just don't have that information.
We're not trying to make it after. We're not trying to put this. This is in a vacuum. We're just trying to figure out if those three stand on their own.
Okay, so then how do you transfer from one to the other? What makes you go from one to the other then? Since we're not using.
But we have to agree. We have to agree. If you're ignorant, that means also that you ignore. You ignore the information. Ignorance. You ignore.
D0, relax for a second. I just want to get some panel, not agreement, but a reckoning as to whether there are two choices, legitimate choices, or three legitimate. We already know that malice is one. We already know that there's liars. I just want to get the stupidity and ignorance resolved. Don't put it on any situation, just in a vacuum, those two statements. Are they the same, or can we get a distinction between the two?
What do you want to vote?
Already have.
I've already answered. So what do you want to vote?
Distinction.
What do you want to vote? Because I've already said no. They're basically the same.
No, I don't want to vote. I want to hear people's thoughts. Adam.
I don't agree. I think they're different.
Same.
I'm a chocolate. They're different.
Adam.
If I don't know anything about gas pressure, I can be ignorant about that. But if I start to speak something about gas pressure, if I don't know, that would make me stupid.
What you got to say to that, Nathan?
I just still think they're the same.
Based on
if you ignore something because it hasn't been presented to you, or you're ignoring something because it has and you can't comprehend it, they're still the same thing as far as I'm concerned. The outcome is the same, so it doesn't make any difference as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you made a step out of it. This is in the vacuum. Like I was going to say, after today, Matthew is accountable. Let's say prior to today, the stuff he learned, or what we learned about him, how he deciphers things, that's the past. That don't count anymore. It's from today on. Now he's accountable because you schooled him pretty good, and he contradicted himself. This is probably the first time he's ever been contradicted by his own lips.
No, that's happened before, but I think we're still getting off topic a little bit. You're trying to context this, and I'm trying to put these in a vacuum. So
I know, but Nathan took it out of that vacuum because he's saying it's this, and you're trying to say on standing alone on their own words, which I thought we were going to just be there, and Chocolate and I think they're different.
Okay, let's just go the other way. They're completely different, Quantum Eraser. Like, they couldn't be further apart. Okay.
I'm just trying to justify John's statement here that maybe he is correct that Hanlon's razor doesn't take into account a third option. That's my point. And he might be right. In that sense, I don't know why he left. I'd like to hear a little bit more of that, but
I see where you're going.
Might have a bad connection.
Let me just see if I'm wrapping my head around what you're saying. So, because of what John is saying, the other John Shelton, he's saying that it's a false dichotomy on the basis that it's not just stupidity versus malice. So, therefore, if it was a true dichotomy and you only had stupidity as opposed to stupidity versus ignorance and malice, there's a trichotomy, say, well, then you've only got stupidity, which would mean that if I can demonstrate that he's not, I'm going to go back to ignorant. If he's not ignorant, then he's accountable and therefore it's malicious. That's my reasoning. But if you're saying, well, no, there's a third option, there's ignorance as well as stupidity, it's like, well, I don't see how my reasoning changes if I account it to ignorance or stupidity. It makes no difference. If he's completely ignorant, because if you're going to call ignorance having had it explained and he doesn't understand it still, it's like, well, okay, but he's a university professor, but now I'm taking it out of your vacuum, so I'm probably going to get shot down for my justified reasoning behind saying that it's malicious in his deceit. But, I'm going to stand by my guns. Maybe someone will prove me, or come up with enough reasoning for me to think otherwise, but not so far.
Well, after you get done explaining, then it can't be ignorance. That would have to revert to stupidity.
I was just going to say that. Like, if you encounter somebody that's ignorant, right, meaning that they lack a certain amount of information, and you hand that information to them, right, you give it to them. Now they're not ignorant anymore because they have said information. Now, if going forward, if they're not capable of making any common sense or detail out of the information that you just provided them, they're not ignorant. Now they're stupid.
Yes. Okay.
And I
Okay.
would say being malicious,
I got that. Yeah, we got to that point last time when we had this exact same conversation about someone else. It might have even been the same guy. But at that point, it was the same guy because it was about, well, how do you justify saying sack him? And we got to the end of this conversation. I'm like, so you're saying that he's not capable of accepting this information, therefore just stupid. Yeah, so why is he in a teaching position? Yeah? Last time it was
that takes it to the context of being malicious because you know the information that you have is wrong, but you're still passing it off. Like he said, I'm just going to teach the kids the assumption that I have instead of actually.
No, I got to disagree with you, Chocolate. That takes it to Nathan's and mine. I would agree with this because I'm the same with Nathan here. expectation of a teacher to be truthful, but all teachers are just teaching what they're told to teach. So the expectation of us is you can't lie, and you know it's not true. That's our expectation of teachers. That's what we put on them.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
Well,
because you expect
go on.
From him to be even. Sorry, Nathan.
No, you go ahead. I was going to start making summary points, so go ahead.
I'm saying that you maybe expect more from the teacher to accept, because you said this is an expert. He understands better than me.
Yeah, the standards are very high.
Yeah, but he's an expert in what he's been force-fed. He's not a free-thinking spirit to say, you know what, this lesson plan they give me today, I don't agree with this. I can't teach this crap. He can't do that. So all the teachers are stuck in this mode.
All right, back to the original point. I think we can rule out the ignorant part in the dichotomy, because when you explain it to somebody reasonably and they still can't reason with it, then that's stupidity. You following that? Is that where you're at, Nathan?
Yeah, at which point you're like, okay, so we're in a position where we've got stupid teachers. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I want to give John a fair shake over it, because I think he had a point, but it dissolved quite quickly. It's conditional. That ignorance is conditional, because once it's explained, once it's explained reasonably, I should caveat that anyone with reasonable intelligence can put it together. Then that, if you can't do it, then that's stupidity.
Then fine. Hold on. I've got to add something on, because there's a concession I would have to make if that was all accepted by everybody, including me, which I'm not necessarily saying it is, but for the context of this concession, I'll say that at that point, I've then got to concede something, which is to say it's unreasonable for me to say, oh, well, you're deceiving the kiddies, because that becomes an unreasonable statement at that point.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I'm nearly there, Neil. Thank you. Yeah, so at that point, it's like, okay, well, you're just stupid then, Matthew, as opposed to, well, you're deceiving the kiddies then, Matthew. Okay, but does one not condemn him slightly more? If anything, I would say that by conceding that, okay, you're not deceitful, you're not malicious in your intentional deceit, which obviously isn't apparent by way of this concession here, but you're just thick, because that's the only other conclusion we can draw. Because you're not ignorant, we've told you. So you can only be described as stupid. Okay, how is that any better for him?
Matthew?
No,
I would say
it doesn't have to be.
I would say it this way. Matthew, now that you know you violated the law of non-contradiction by your own words, it can't be what you say it is. If you continue teaching this, you would become a liar now that you know. You're no longer ignorant, Matthew. Do you agree with that?
Okay. Would become means I need to apologize, because I've absolutely brandished him a liar, which is unreasonable. So therefore I need to make a concession that was unreasonable on my part. Would you not agree?
Only if this was the first time he was aware of it. If someone else made him aware of it and he continues after he's been corrected, then you would be right, Nathan.
Well, wasn't that my original justification for not conceding?
Right, but for the audience to hear how you get to that point is what we're talking about. Not because it comes off strong. That's why John left the show. Refractive curvature, John.
John left the show? What? Yeah. Oh, my God.
No, there's nothing wrong with feelings. The audience has feelings, too. Sometimes Nathan comes strong because they don't understand why he's coming on strong, and he doesn't really explain why he's coming on strong. He's just got this anger for this globe lie that's lied to billions of people. Well, then we're all going to come on strong for that. But when you're talking to a person...
Neil, he's nearly there. Neil!
I'm claiming favoritism here, because when I say you're a little hard on the guy, I get labeled a terrorist sympathizer. But John gets labeled, oh, he's okay. Everybody has feelings.
Why'd you personalize
from the beginning?
Okay, now that you've done personalizing it to how you were treated wrong, let me continue. That wasn't the point. The point is John wrote something and then left And things like this have happened to you in the past. So now we're talking about it. So maybe more apologies are due. Point is, when someone's listening to someone get chewed down, they want to know why he's getting such a beating. Okay, well, I want to know why this guy's getting such a beating. Is he a liar? Is he ignorant? Is he, stupid? Which one is it? For what beating is he getting for? Well, once you...
Maybe he's all of the above.
Oh, gosh.
My God,
I think
Neil.
everybody knows what I mean.
Harry on 10th, please. Third time's a charm. Please, Neil, for the love of Jesus. Just let him make his point.
So my point is, because it's a public show and people don't know you like we know you and don't have the history of the ballers and all that, they make quick decisions based on one show, one episode, one chew down. When the basis of it is very solid, why we chew them down, why we beat them up, because of what this lie has done to society. Now, that guy may be in the stupid stage of that lie, ignorant stage of the lie, or he's actually perpetrating the lie on purpose. He's one of those three. And you are trying to figure out which one he is. But as you educate him and he concedes, like Matthew did today, what an angle was and measurement, and he didn't know celestial matter. I mean, he just contradicted. Everyone could see the guy is either stupid or ignorant, but he's still teaching it. And then he says, well, that's what the experts say. So now he falls into a whole new category of he just believes the authority. Whatever the authorities say, if we live on a pyramid, then we live on a pyramid. If we live on a ball, flat earth. Whatever they say, this guy's going to say. Audience, what kind of person would you want to teach your kids? Someone who doesn't have critical thinking skills like Matthew learns? I mean, Don devastated right there. He's embarrassed. And you didn't have to say anything other than explain the situation.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to today's Discord and G+ panel for making today's live and after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!